Welcome to the intro. Tonight's featured artist, Kevin MacLeod. Enjoy. Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, Paranormal Portal Podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. Sup, peeps? How's it going? Here I am, untangled from the inner tubes and the interwebs and the webs of spider webs and webs of lies and all the other shit going on. Hello to all you wonderful people. Mercury rises, Sagittarius is in the 7th house with Venus and God knows what, all the other things we're doing, but apparently Mercury is a retrograde, flipped everything upside down. I want to thank each and every one of you that hung out in the chat last night. I want to mostly thank Mr. Greg Koss, who was wonderful through the whole thing. Spoke to him as little as I could, getting in and jotting down a little half a word and everything else. Lynn did a great job. I managed to get the word out to her about an hour before and said, I'll give you, updates. But we were in something. I don't know. I got my suspicions, but anyway, thank you so very much. Thank you to Lynn Monet, the beautiful Lynn Monet, and thank you to Greg Koss and all the wonderful mods that hung out in the chat last night and stayed and let people know what was going on as you found out. Ted, thank you so much. I saw some of it this morning because YouTube and some of Facebook placed it so I could see some of the chat. And you guys were just awesome. I appreciate you hanging in there and wishing me well and putting out the word that we were okay. It was just something going on electronically. So that's another reason. So thanks again. And it wasn't the ginger kittens in the wires, although that was a very cute little visual there, Ted. So thank you for that. But so again, thank you to those people. That show has been already rescheduled in ink. The wonderful Greg Kosh, you're going to absolutely love him, and paired with Lynn Monet, an absolutely fabulous show. So I didn't want you guys to miss out. That is already rescheduled for the 29th. And I want you to know that Greg Koss meditated through the whole thing, sent out nothing but love vibes every chance he could get, and wonderful, stellar human being. With both of them in the background, how could you lose, right? And all you wonderful people. So hello. I will hold off saying hello to each of you till I get this old rattlesnake. Let me get my stick, see if I can beat him up here out of the bushes. What do you think? You want to see him? I miss him terrible. We couldn't miss tonight, so thank goodness we're here. Come on in here.
Hey,
Yo, rattlesnake. How you doing?
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you beautiful, sweetheart. So yeah, Mercury rising was in the 7th house with Sagittarius, so some kind of mess twisted me upside down. It was a horrible time, Steve, and had to reschedule some shows. But that's what happens when you get up into the
joys of doing anything live. And I had a premiere later last night. I didn't get to check out the stream, but in the premiere I had later, Ted Branston came in and was telling me all about it.
Was he? God bless them. I have great mods. They get the word out. Indiana wants me. Lord, I can't go back there. Hey, Tiger Lily, how you doing? So tonight, Renice, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glenn Dennison, AJK, how are you doing, love? Drive on out there, baby. Pancake, good to see you, honey. Vixen Doe, Ted Brassey, you know I love you. I love you, love you, love you. And Aunt Edna, I love you too, girl. How you doing? You see anybody in here you want to say hello to there?
Oh, let's see. I've got it on this
Uncommon Belief. Thank you so much for all your help.
Vixen Doe's here. Pankaj, I hope I'm saying that right. AJK, Glenn Dennison, Ernest Sue, Ann Palmer, Michelle, Mari Gaddy.
Thanks, Ted.
And Donnie Cho.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I got specific. I believe I could be wrong, but Salvador, hello, sweetie. How you doing? Blue Crossroads. All my love to you,
doing
sweetheart.
Good there. Salvador's brother passed away, I think, day before yesterday.
Condolences. My heart goes out.
Our condolences on your loss there, Salvador, my brother.
So many people have lost loved ones, and the furry kind and the two-legged kind, and my heart goes out to each and every one of you. This is just it's a hard time right now. That's why I went ahead and I've been doing this little thing, Steve, where I feature an artist off of the audio library, because I just think some of these people are just off the charts fantastic, and tonight we did Kevin, I hope I'm saying it right, MacLeod.
I think it's
MAC.
But I'm not
I always
sure.
want to say McLeod, but it's spelled funny.
Spelled funny, yeah. But either way, whatever he is, however you say it, he is very talented. He's got all kinds of different songs and different styles on there, from classical piano stuff all the way up to spooky stuff and
and simple ones like that beautiful. I don't know if you got to hear it, but the beautiful one in the beginning, I did Luminous Rain. So what I was doing to work with my new some of my new software for Muvavi, we talked about that a couple weeks ago, that I had to just get, so I got it for my birthday. So I was playing around with it, and I said, what a great way to do it. I'm going to feature this artist, and then I'm going to listen to the song. I'll pick 3. And, hopefully if it has a specific theme, I can match it to the show we're going to see, or the show we're going to do, whatever that episode is about. Sometimes I can do that, and sometimes it's just about that artist and a certain feeling. But tonight, like Steve said, he's got such a wide range, and I wanted you to kind of see a little bit of it from that wonderful Darkness is Coming, which I just love because it moves back and forth in that little whoop in the background. It's just like perfect. You can just see the little children's choir that he's got, probably a boys choir from a church or something, because that's what it sounds like. And it's just the perfect timing of all those just notes and the feeling and how it moves you and it crescendos. And the other one, we got Mulder Cam tonight, folks. Look at this. Mulder Cam.
Sleep on his little bed there.
Yeah. I really do like Darkness is Coming as well. And there's something to it, right, Vixen? I really love it. And of course, I use it a lot because it matches, if I got to put some background behind a video or something, or an intro. But the one in the beginning, if you guys missed it, please go back when this reloads. Hey, Cats on Parade. when it reloads and I can get some notifications here and blocking my chat. They're all saying hi to Mr. Mulder. With dog bones. They're throwing dog bones. Hey, Cats
And
on
when he's
Parade.
asleep and missing, hey, Cats on Parade, good to see
How
you
you
here.
doing?
She was
How
at
you
my
doing?
25,000 subscriber live stream that I did last night over on
Congratulations.
Persons and
We're up
Mysteries.
to,
Thank you very
I
much.
looked today. I don't look all the time, but I looked today and it was 1,555. So we got 3 5s in a row now. If that isn't coming out
And
of
you know what?
the
That's a
whatever.
crying shame. You should have thousands and
Oh,
thousands.
it's
And
an
your
acquired taste.
channel is one of those that YouTube hides it. Even though as much as I come here, every time I go to look for it, I type Journey and it shows like the band, Journey through the Journey through all this other stuff, Journey through space, Journey through this, Journey
That's
through
why
that. Have to type in Journey
I'm
through the
shadow
gate
banned.
and then it'll finally pull it up, but it's about the second or third one down. So
Isn't that something, guys?
it's actively hiding you. And it's
It
because
sure
of some of the controversial stuff that we cover on here.
Because sometimes I say the truth, even though I try to talk around it so it's not so blatant. But
Isn't that a shame that you have to
pick it up? Yeah,
disguise the truth, that you can't speak the truth?
Yeah. But share it out if you feel like you can. Share it out your social media, whatever. Get us a couple more subscribers. It's an acquired taste for sure because I don't hold back. Like I said, a lot of people don't like it that I smoke. Well, get over it. Because everybody's got something. I guarantee you somebody's picking their feet right now. Somebody's doing something else.
Their feet, scratching their nose, scratching their butt. Who knows what?
Somebody's putting peanut butter on their toes, letting their dog lick it off. You don't know. Some kind of gross mess like that. You know what I mean? I put all my stuff right on the front porch. You can see it. Was that a bad visual?
I was trying to on the front porch
put peanut butter on your toes.
I'm not sure where that came from. I don't know if you're drawing on personal experience there. Have you been in the honey again tonight, Cisco?
Yeah, I got it right here.
Cisco spills the tea.
I haven't even had a sip. It's my first sip. But you know what I mean, don't you? People do some weird
There's
shit.
people that do some weird things, and it's
people
normal to them. And then you see them doing like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that?
Like I said, I put mine on the front porch. And if I was a big old guy with, 5 o'clock shadow, a big old cigar and a baseball cap around back, you'd think I was the coolest thing since sliced bread. So it's just, it's all your vantage point and everything else. This is just an old codger sitting here trying to tell you some of the things I think I learned along the way and what my theories are today at this moment, at this time, in things that we're interested in. And other times I'm sitting there learning because, we don't know everything. We just don't. I don't care how long you've been in the subject. I still can't take you to Bigfoot's house, even though I bet you I stayed in the woods long enough I'd hear him or her. This is the thing. We're just here trying to share stuff, and it's, but they do hide me. And, I get red a lot and I get yellow a lot, which means they don't share you out or put ads on you. Don't get monetized. And I can watch it turn. I can actually watch it turn and tell you about when we lost it. You know what I'm saying?
There's certain keywords, and there's somebody sitting there waiting, and as soon as you say nope, and they hit the button, no ad revenue for that channel. But yet YouTube will still put ads on it. They'll
Cisco's got the funny honey. Hello, Tiger Lily. Welcome in, love. Loved your show the other night. I don't know if I got to tell you that. It was lovely meeting you, Tiger Lily. I didn't get to say much because I was running back and forth busy, but you wind up, when you do this all by yourself too, you wind up, stuff like last night happens. Luckily, the 2 guests that I had on last night, hey, oh, great. Good to hear you, Anne. Hello, sweetie. It's just you're by yourself. I'm editing. I'm the one loading this stuff. I'm the one doing all this stuff. But anyway, I want to get back to the raindrop. So what I did was I went through, I just pulled up I'm just going to call him McLeod at this point. Kevin MacLeod stuff. And I started going through and I said, okay, I want one that's like cinematic and dramatic. And I listened to all those. I picked out the best one for you guys. And how I pick the songs is I close my eyes when I listen to them. And if I got a visual, I would go out and seek that visual, like the one, Lost Frontier. It reminded me of space and that whole thing where the guy was sitting in the lawn chair looking at the stars move in, and and how, like, if you followed the stars, where would you come through on the other end? You'd come out in some guy's coffee cup, and at the end the cat's watching the whole damn thing. So that's how my mind works. It's a little crazy, but I told you before how I make those is I have to go and I have to search these GIFs, these GIFs. I have to search them, and little footage, like Steve knows that story on Pixabay or VidEasy or one of these wonderful people. So thank you to all the lovely people there. And you go through and you find little things that match that visual or match that moment, and you put them all through. And sometimes I have to copy one of those things 30, 35 times to get it long enough to make it to where it matches the music. The one with the drop, I had to layer that drop like, probably 20 something times at certain times, because it was a lot of drops, and then it calmed down, and then it was just one at the end. And the ripples, as much as we talk about a drop in the water and how your actions affect things, and the ripples that go out, it was just so beautiful, and then finish it with Darkness is Coming, because the subject we got tonight, Darkness is Coming, right, Steve? Satanic Panic.
Indeed.
The nostalgia from the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yeah,
It was crazy.
To quote Dickens, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. But nothing to me more captures the zeitgeist of particularly the early 80s than the Satanic Panic. Now, it started in the 70s with John Todd, like 78, 79. I've been playing those tapes over on my channel, and a lot of people never heard them. There's several generations in there now that haven't heard them. But people our age are going back and saying, wow, I remember these. I remember hearing them in church on Wednesday night and just having the pants scared off of me, but not enough that I went home and burned my record albums like some of the kids did. I went home and looked at them like, yeah, that's right. That is there. Oh, that is Anton LaVey inside the gatefold for Hotel California, and I played Stairway to Heaven backwards and all this, but it was fascinating. And if anything, it had the opposite effect. He kind of made me look at it more and like, oh, what's going on here? But those tapes are amazing. And if even half,
they are. I did. I listened to them when they came out. I listened to them again. I did a search because I'm a big Bill Cooper fan. I'm a huge, Jim Mars. If you're telling the truth, I'm listening.
The stuff he talked about,
yes,
those guys talked about later after him. Talks a lot about the Illuminati. Fritz Springmeier wrote a really, really good book called Bloodlines to the Illuminati. I was able to download a PDF of it off the CIA.gov website. Now, what does that tell you?
What's that tell you? Do you remember the CIA guy, the CIA guy that got killed? That was putting out a lot of this? Huh?
I think, no, it wasn't Danny Castellaro. He was I know who you're talking about. It wasn't him.
Is anybody Glenn? Ted? Or AJK?
Is it the one where they found him? He'd gone out in his canoe and they found him floating in the water. It was William.
That was one of them. There was another one that was running around. He was the one that was telling all the stuff about let me find the right words here. They were carrying a white powder substance during the wars, and they made a movie, Air America, about it. And he was one of the ones that blew all this out of the water about some of the, the letter agencies and stuff like that being involved. And then they killed him. They threw him in jail for a long time, and then he got out, and he just kept, and there's so many,
and
but
this guy, they kept persecuting him. They'd trump some kind of charge up and get him on some kind of sex charge or something that was hard to prove or disprove. And I think they took him down. And again, if you consider
they shadow ban you,
that he was running from these people, and he had a price on his head and death threats and stuff, what better way to shut him up, since he was such a whistleblower, than to discredit him at every turn?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I think, and like I said, a lot of the stuff that he said, now it really started, if you want to, the real Satanic Panic, the beginnings of it, the impetus of it, 1966, Anton LaVey, the head of the Church of Satan, he declared 66 Anno Satanus 1, the year of Satan. And then you went all the way up to 69 with Manson and the Beatles and all that stuff. Then the 70s kicked in. That's when Todd started finding out stuff, talking about it all through like until later in the 70s. And then like everybody jumped on the bandwagon in the early 80s. You had Bob Larson, you had Geraldo, you had Phil Donahue, you had 2020, all these news programs like, hey, here's something we could talk about and an exploit and scare people. And it did. I mean, they had record burnings and book burnings and things like that. It was something else.
Well, we got a couple quick questions answered. One of the most important ones I've had all night was what you drink in Cisco. In my Tigger cup, I have a double shot of Rose Mint Stress-Free Tea by Bigelow with my Funny Honey in it. And some regular sweet tea backup in a mason jar, just for that. What do you got, Steve?
I've got coffee and in my special favorite cup here, and I got path water.
Oh, here. Wonderful path. I was trying to remember the name of that path water. Okay.
Drinkpath.com.
There you go. Drinkpath.com.
Made in the USA. They do limited editions. Veteran owned
Bobby
and
Seale.
Operated.
I knew Glenn had it. Someone knew one of them. Bobby Seale. That's him, Glenn. Thank you. Bing, bing, bing. 5 stars. 5 pieces of bacon for Glenn. Throw him bacon. Throw him bacon. Yep, that's exactly what happened. Boy, Geraldo got into that mess, didn't he? He's got his little sleeves rolled up and everything. He was just on the case, wasn't he?
Yeah, that time the way he was a caricature of himself. He'd been a former circus carny, played the organ and stuff like that, but he got people's attention. He had a lot of people take him up on that. He started doing the
thank you. Uncommon Beliefs. There you go, Steve.
There you go.
There you go. Thank you. Wonderful mods.
Started holding the satanic mass in his house in San Francisco. And part of the draw was that there'd be a live nude girl on the altar. So people would show up just to see the skin.
Just to see.
And one of the girls that did that would later become one of the Manson family, Susan Atkins.
There you go.
It all ties together.
And right here, I'll go ahead and talk about this too, since you brought up, because Anton LaVey started the Church of Satan, and blew it all up. And I've got more on him in a little bit, but Steve sent me some clips, and I ran them through YouTube, and what they approved me to show you, I'm going to show you now. I cut a lot. Some of it got really, they got really into it. To talking to these kids that went in and killed people, and signed a contract with Satan and life in prison.
The 3 kids that used baseball bats and took the 4th one out and then threw him down a well while he was still alive. That was just horrifying. And the kid was like, yeah, I did it. I did it for power.
Gouged out their eyes.
I wanted girls. I wanted money. And he was dead inside. You could see that. Horrific case.
Glenn is having Starbucks Frappuccino. Yeah, I mean, they were horrible. So I didn't, I cut around it. Yeah, that's true, Glenn. Do you remember the vault? I remember sitting there with Al Capone's vault, and there was nothing in it but a bottle, and he was like holding that bottle. It's like, well, I guess maybe, there was whiskey in it. And the whole time that anybody's ever seen bottles like that, it was like one of the first things they found going towards the beginning of the cave vault, whatever it was, digging around in there. It was a medicine bottle from, I think, like a milk of magnesia or something, because I remember joking, it looked just like my sister had one right in her windows. We collected bottles, and we have a lot of antique people in our family, but it wasn't even a whiskey bottle. He didn't even get that. So yeah, Geraldo.
Yeah, he was just a sensationalist even before he went out on his own, when he was still with
that's true, Glenn. He was
Hugh Downs and Rona Barrett, and was that 2020? I think it was.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember when they executed Gary Gilmore?
I do.
Utah, he was the last person in the U.S. to die by a firing squad. And Geraldo was on site outside the prison. And there's a clip somewhere, like a hot mic moment, of him yelling back because he was broadcasting live, yelling back to the 2020 studio, kill the Rona segment, kill the Rona segment. I swear you'll be able to hear the gunshots. You'll be able to hear the gunshots. Of course you couldn't. But again, that was just Geraldo. He was just
yeah. I remember when he drew a map and he told everybody where he was when he was embedded, and they were at war. And he's drawing a map on live television, telling everybody where they were. I can't believe I didn't see a butt of like 16 hitting him in the back of the head at that point, but you know what I'm saying.
Or a well-placed artillery shell, that friendly fire. That would have been one for friendly fire for sure. Not so friendly fire.
They'd have covered it up.
And then you had the whole thing with the punk rock kids where it turned into big fracas and they threw a chair and broke his nose. I think that might have been the white supremacist kids, but it was always something just to stir people up. And his audience was mostly housewives sitting around watching TV during the daytime. Same with Donahue. Now, he wasn't quite as sensational, but he was exploitive and stuff. And
Donahue, he was the first one that got the mic and ran. They always talk about he was the first one to grab the mic and run into the audience. He was such a hero. He was so brave. He was on the cusp of, well, just give me a break. You know what I'm saying? It's just God.
And he always talked about how he was anti-violence and he was a pacifist and stuff. But one time he and his wife, Marlo Thomas, were working through, I think it's LaGuardia or JFK Airport, and somebody yelled out, "The Donahue should be killed." And he runs over to the guy and starts punching him. So how much of a pacifist are you and nonviolent if you're going to beat somebody?
I don't know if anybody is real. The thing is anybody that's out there, here's the deal. You're going to sign over something. There was a saying, I'll tell you something else that was real big in the 70s too. We used to have a bumper sticker that said ass, gas, or grass. Nobody rides for free. So in Hollywood, in politics, in anything where you're a rising star and they're promoting you and you're singing and you're doing their thing with their contracts and everything else, it's a rarity that you can have somebody that can dip their toe in that dark pool of sludge and slime and not come out with some of it on you.
If you make it, they're going to take your pound of flesh. And they don't take it in one chunk. They take it with a razor blade, just a little slice at a time, and whittle you down. There's a price for that kind of stuff.
There's I can tell you right now, I can point you to multiple videos. Now we'll probably go yellow tonight, so I might as well do it early. Multiple videos of people saying, I was at the meetings when they called everybody in, all the up and coming rappers and the other rappers, and said, you will do this, and this. This will be in your music. You will do this, and this. You will sign this contract. And if you don't, you're not going anywhere. You're not getting any play. And only 3 got up.
The pyramid and the 3 6s and everything. All the symbology's there, just like what John Todd talked about back in the late 70s. It's there. It's in your face. That's one of the signatures of the Illuminati and the Rothschilds and the Bilderbergs and all these, is to put it out there. They have a signal so that they know who's doing it. He talked about all the different companies and how they use like the colors red and blue, that the different oil companies, except for Gulf,
Pancake,
British Petroleum, they're all basically owned by Standard. But you have Mobil Oil, it was blue with a red O. Well, that O represented Satan or something like that. You had, I think that was the one with the Pegasus. You had Shell Oil, that's just basically hell with an S stuck on the front of it. It just went
Shell
on
companies,
on,
period.
and talked about how Standard Oil at one time owned all the department stores. They owned Sears, Penny, Macy's owned Santa Claus, so the Illuminati owned Santa Claus.
Guess who designed your education program? Starts with an R and ends in a child. Figure that out.
I got a thing on Facebook.
I'm not joking. Picked all the books, your children, everything, the way it was going to be.
Baron John de Rothschild, and he invited me to join the Illuminati. And I played along. I was going to see how much money they were going to, because I really, really, really wanted a membership card that said Illuminati on it. And I don't think he's here tonight, but Terry Brown played along enough, and he said he got one. And he also bought one of those 12-inch square parcels of land in Scotland. So he's not only a lord in Scotland now, but he's also a member of the Illuminati. And then that whole thing, I think Whitney Houston was sacrificed when she was performing at the after party or whatever it was, and doing singing a hymn and crying. And she came out there was blood running down her leg or something. Then they find her dead in the bathtub. And then I think, wasn't it I don't know if it was the same room, but the same hotel. So they found her daughter unresponsive in the bath. I don't know. Those people need to stay out of the bathtub.
This is the comment so far of the night, and I'm just going to let y'all read it. I know we get in trouble for comments on view too, but this is important, because I'm taking the whole stance. Steve and I can't speak for Steve, but I'm going to say this. We're not stupid, believe me. And I'm taking the whole stance that I took on Camelio and Robert Guthrie's book, Camelio. If they showed it to you, that means they had it 20 years before they let that come out. And this was out in the 70s. All of this stuff, 70s, 80s, 90s. And I'm going to show you some stuff. You're not going to believe it. Well, yeah, you will. But if they were letting it out in the 70s, because I've been in this, and I always went in through, the JFK, then into Oh My, and then the kids.
Yeah.
And well, I've been looking at this for years.
This gentleman passed away, and I think they gave him cancer and killed him. Dave McGowan wrote an expose pretty much by accident about all the weird goings on. It was called Weird Scenes in Laurel Canyon or something like that.
Yeah.
Dave McGowan. And he talked about how the whole hippie movement and that the peace and love and all that music, all those kids were children of the military industrial complex that had grown up on military bases.
We did a show on it, Steve.
Yeah, we did. We talked about that one.
A deep dig on it. Yeah. I mean, everybody.
All the ties there. Jim Morrison's father was an admiral and basically was responsible for the Bay of Tonkin incident that got us into Vietnam. And there's a picture of him standing on the bridge.
On the bridge.
Little Jim there with a short haircut and like a Letterman sweater. And he was like 12 or something. Well, 6 years later, he's got the long hair. He shows up with a book of poetry and have never written a poem, never sang a song, anything. And then in just a few months, he's part of the biggest rock band in the world at that time. And again, they met in film school, I think, him and Ray Manzarek. And who knew he could sing, who knew he could write songs, but he showed up with a book full of this stuff.
Out of nowhere.
He never spoke out against the war. He never mentioned anything.
And then Timothy Leary and everything else. And it all it's an experiment on live people that didn't know they were part of it. I'm telling you, it's true. And this quote, this comment right here from Maury, absolutely is it. Because if they're telling us about it then, you know what I mean? And again, everybody, they just made it a joke,
No. And something else John Todd talked about
conspiracy theory
was anytime Congress or the House or somebody's fighting over this bill or that bill, he said that's a smokescreen. Dig down and see what they're really trying to pass. While everybody it's misdirection, like a magician. Look over here.
Midwest.
Don't pay attention to what we're doing down here, because that's where they're sneaking stuff in past you. And it just it goes all the way back. Even the Beatles.
No coincidences.
If coincidence doesn't exist. The Beatles, that was an exercise in crowd control. Go back and look up the Tavistock, Tavistock, that'll probably get you a yellow right there. But the Tavistock Foundation in Great Britain, the Beatles were a viral experiment.
Everybody send healing light to Lindsay's husband. He's under the weather. Either he's not feeling good or she's lost him in a drift of snow somewhere out there in the wilds of the Canadian. You're literally under the weather. One of the two. Which one is it? Do you need a snow shovel or some herbal healing out there? Welcome in Midwest. And Andrew's here. Look, Andrew's here. He pulled over.
Hey, Andrew.
Show. We love you, baby. We love you, baby. Well, that's the stance I'm taking. I'm taking the Camelio one. And like I said, I've been in this for a long time, and I started fighting and opening my big mouth to help some people behind the scenes for victims of this horrible crap. And again, whether you want to talk about a large round Italian, covered in cheese with pepperoni gate,
you have Michelle Remembers up there. She was another one that they tried to discredit. Oh, she made it up. She did this. She did that.
Yep, and that's what they do.
There were
We're
other.
Sorry, baby. Send lots of healing light your way. Yep, that's true, Steve.
There was a girl called, or I can't remember her name, but she wrote a book, and I think it's called Thanks for the Memories. And she talked about how she was basically a concubine for Bob Hope. And she claimed to have gone through the CIA's Monarch mind control programming. Which they tried to deny, and now they admit that it exists. There was mind control. In the CIA, they
Oh
tried that
God,
with
yeah.
drugs.
MK
They
Ultra.
tried the thing with fracturing the mind to the point that they created multiple personalities in people, and then certain personalities, certain alters, had assignments and were told what to do. They were programmed to the point that they had a self-destruct script in there that if somebody was trying to access the programming that didn't know the right sequence of code words and things, that the person would literally end their life. And if you look at the people that did that, the people that have taken their own lives, and it makes you wonder if there's not something to all that. I believe there's a nugget of truth in there. Now, some of it is grandstanding, and some of it is people like Geraldo socializing it. But again, what better way to get people to laugh at it and make say all than to take the whole reefer madness approach. And because you remember how
Yes.
that blew up? My
Yeah.
parents were the generation.
Let's make a joke about it. Well, the
One
whole
toke
thing,
of a
Steve.
left-handed cigarettes, and you'd go crazy. You'd murder people. It's just the opposite. You
Yep.
you use green products like that, you're going to sit around and watch cartoons, go murder anybody, or in Reefer Madness, they've got the guy playing the piano faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, it's craziness. But that's what they do. You're 100% spot on. Before I lose it, I wanted to again share this. This is Kevin MacLeod or MacLeod.
Yeah, that's his website.
Wonderful
Wait,
man. He's got almost 600 different songs on the YouTube audio library. So a lot of times when you're being entertained, I used his music all through
I
the
use a lot of his
Lizzie
music. Him
Borden.
and a guy called Myuu.
That's a
He's
good
got
one too.
really
But that's
dark piano.
Kevin. That's our featured artist. Thank you, Kevin, for all the wonderful music, sweetie. Talented some bitch. Okay, so there's
I'd like
that
to know
one.
what he looks like.
There you, yeah, I think it's neat, because I figure I'm using their songs. I
That
always
really
give them
is
credit,
dancing.
like they ask and everything like that. But I figured I'd do a little bit more because I think the music enhances things so much. And boy, when I can find that
Yeah,
right one, like when we were
it's
doing
good
haunted
music.
castles, that
Mhm.
Renaissance, beautiful music and stuff, it just makes it so much, the experience instead of just playing the same song over and over again. So we're trying to get you on all levels here, especially because it raises your vibrations and you need that. Remember that last song, In Darkness Is Coming, I put, gatekeepers, keep your lights on because darkness is coming. It's here. And I know what wins, but you got to keep the lights on. It's hard. I mean, I was going through it yesterday, trying to stay bright and happy through trauma, or drama or bullshit. I mean, it's so hard not to lose it. You know what I mean? And we all do that. So don't ever give up on yourself because you're having a moment or you need to take that time or you're reacting in a human way to a human situation because you're human. You just try to pull yourself out of it and change what you can and accept
Well,
what you
it's
can't
peaks
and
and
move
valleys.
on.
Everybody has ups and downs.
Get back up,
There
drive
are
on,
people
adapt and overcome.
from depression and manic depression and
Mhm.
bipolar disorder and things like that. But life has its ups and downs. There's going to
Oh,
be
there's
peaks and
one.
valleys.
Yep.
And the way you got to remember that is when you're going down, you're going to
We
hit that
heal them
low
here,
point
Ted, don't we, baby?
and you're going to come back up.
Yep.
You'll
Yep.
bounce back. Have faith in yourself and in your abilities.
Dasha Bell's here. Hi, sweetie. And if
Peace,
anybody
Doc.
sees Tennille, let them know. Tell her I said hi too, because I keep missing her in chat, and I see her on the Facebook and the
I think
Facebook.
her husband, I saw
I
a
do
post
that to
earlier
make the
from
young
her.
ones crazy.
Her
Huh?
husband's got something going on. I saw Tennille posting on
Oh,
Facebook
okay.
earlier.
Well,
Her
God
husband's
bless
got
her. I hope
something
she's
going on.
okay.
He's in the hospital, and they're
Oh, geez.
waiting until the conditions are
Let's
just right to do surgery. I think his blood
Lots of
pressure
healing energy that
too
way
high or
too.
too
We're
low.
sending that
So
to you and
send love and
Lindsay
light
and
to
anybody that's
towing.
hurting.
I forget what they're towing to Neil. I forget what the name,
Yeah,
but he goes by the
long name.
nickname of Hillbilly. So love and
Okay.
light to Neil's husband, Hillbilly.
There we go. There we go. Lots and lots of love. Okay. Well, we do have a little piece of something here. You want to see it, Steve? I
Oh
cut
yeah,
out a
roll
little
that
bit just
beautiful video footage.
so we could give these lovely people a little something to sink their teeth into here. Let's see. Did I do everything? Yep, we got Kevin. He's done. We talked about the music. We talked about let's see, the letter agency is not so good, and people telling the truth and disappearing in strange ways. You know. Watch, God, I hope we don't get swatted or something. Dang, be like the whole time. Let me finish my tea. Let me finish my tea before you take me.
Lisa Marie Presley. I'd mentioned her name
Never.
a couple
You
episodes
did.
ago.
Oh,
But I was talking about
Steve.
the jet. I said, now if we were getting ready to end the show, and I was talking about how hungry I was, and I said, if I had Elvis money, I'd call down and tell him to fire up the Lisa Marie, and I'd go somewhere and get something to eat, because he used to do that. He would fly from Memphis out to Denver. There was a place that had the best banana, peanut butter, and bacon sandwiches on French bread, like a whole loaf. Yep. They were like $100 a piece or something, but they were the best he could find. And he would fly out there just to get sandwiches, or fly somebody out there to pick him up sandwiches and bring him back. So Lisa Marie, darling, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mention your name, but just in case Yoko Ono, Nickelback, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I feel you. I feel you, sweetheart.
It's never the ones where we try. It's somebody that we just mention casually like that.
Okay, let's see if I can do this. Look at me. I'm bold as hell. I'm smashing buttons left and right up in this thing. I'm going over here. I'm coming over, sharing this. So Ed Edna just said something. Go up in the chat. Look what she just said. She's 100% correct. Let's just say another con. However,
multiple monitors set up here.
Let's see here. I want to share this. So I'm just gonna put this right here. Can y'all see that?
Yeah, we got a coupon.
Yep, with a coupon. And I'm just gonna leave that sit right there. And
got a bottle of it in my bathroom cabinet.
Start there. Nebulizer, little portable nebulizer. Teaspoon, go by what it says on the box. Get it now, okay? And stay on it. And don't believe this crap about blue this, or it has to be this one. This one right here. Read up on it. Go look outside of the,
they tried to change it. So, if you take too much of that, your skin will turn blue. And they tried out a picture of a guy, and he had some disease. I think it exacerbated it. But anytime they try to warn you off of something like that, look at the reasoning why. The most ridiculous thing I've ever seen the other day, they were talking about people that hadn't had the pokey were more likely to get into car accidents. Now, how silly is that?
It's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard in my life.
If you haven't got your
Midwest
caught up on everything, then you're more likely to have a car wreck.
We're going to put that up there.
When I say bullshit, I call bullshit on that.
You do those two things and get you as much raw garlic as you can get your hands on. Chop it. Wait 7 minutes. Chop it. Wait 7 minutes. Eat it raw.
And chew it up. Swallow it.
Chew it up. Swallow it.
Fever, toothache, inflammation. It helps.
Mix it in red wine. Mix it in olive oil. Gets it in different parts of your body. So you can read up on that too. I've got stacks and stacks of stuff printed out. Just raw garlic must be that thick. I'm not joking. I mean, it's an amazing thing. So there you go. And again, the royalty. Now, you history buffs out there, get your ears perked up. A lot of royalty was surviving different viruses and plagues and things like that. And they couldn't figure it out. And they thought for a long time it was just because they were eating better. Well, of course, that makes sense, right? And, living better and stuff like that. No. Most of them that they looked into, they cooked on sterling silver and ate on sterling silver, and the silver came off into the food. And that's also why they started calling them blue bloods. That's right.
The outverts of that, you had the Romans that made lead plates and lead dinnerware, and look what happened to them. They got lead poisoning and went nuts. So that contributed, they think. Some historians and scholars think that contributed to the fall of the Roman Empire. Because they were eating off lead plates.
That and greed. Just saying. Pride goes before fall. Just saying. Okay. Who wants to see Geraldo? I do. Okay, we got a little
Everybody gets a Geraldo. You get a Geraldo, and you get a Geraldo.
You get a Geraldo. And I'll give you
your chair.
I'll give you a little bit. Now, I think this was probably, God, what was he in his peak? The 90s? Was he kind of? He's been kind of in and out of there
mid
all the
to
time.
late 80s, and then I think by the 90s he was kind of phasing out. He was kind of done by then. But
Inbreeding.
the mid to late 80s,
Ooh,
Geraldo was the shiznit,
it
and had
is.
that daytime show. And then, you had Donahue. He was sensational. Then you had Sally Jesse Raphael and
I liked her in her little red
Jerry
glasses.
Springer, and then that turned into just a free for all. They'd come on there and fight,
and the flying chairs broke his nose.
Yeah, that was either the punks versus the white supremacists or the skinheads.
Yeah, it was. It's terrible.
Something like that. But yeah,
he stood there so long because he knew it was a great money shot to have all that blood on his face. And he's just standing there, and it's just like, he was in pain. He's a wimpy crybaby probably behind the, I mean, come on.
And then when they showed him after that, and he was all taped up. I used to read a magazine. It was a political satire magazine called Spy, and they had this thing called Separated at Birth. And that features one of my favorites. Like, they have a picture of and a picture of Mick Jagger, and they did look related. Well, they had Geraldo was his face all typed up, and Bozo the Clown, and the way it made his nose prominent and stuff, there was a resemblance to Bozo.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, I love me some Morton Downey Jr. I don't care. I loved him. I liked him. And who was that? That Tom Snyder. I probably would have hit him, but I liked the way he talked to people. The way he got stuff.
He'd sit there and smoke his cigarettes, and
I like
he'd just call them on their stuff. But the best interviews I ever saw were on the Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder. And yes, I stayed up and watched that before I went to school. Or
and Merv Griffin, he would get so excited. He would suck air through his teeth.
Dick Cavett, I love Dick Cavett. He's just so droll and so calm and stuff.
Yeah,
he'd have
so calm.
David Bowie and Iggy Pop on there, and they're jumped up on something, and he's just, I see. Well, tell me about your latest album, and it's just. But
Janis Joplin raked him over the coals. If you want to have a laugh, look up the Janis Joplin and what was his name, Dick Cavett,
and another guy that's kind of an unsung hero, Mike Douglas. Do you remember the Mike Douglas?
Mike. I love. Who doesn't like Mike?
He had a lot of those popular rock bands and stuff. That was the first time they were ever on TV.
Yep. Him and Dinah Shore.
American Bandstand. Dinah Shore.
Golf outfits. Yeah, but Carol Burnett tore it up on the Variety. I mean, Carol Burnett was, she was a class act funny. She was so funny.
Tim Conway and Harvey Korman together. And Tim Conway.
Yeah, he did.
He could sit there and not break a smile, anything. And Harvey Korman is just like shaking. He's wanting to break character and laugh so hard. And
Tim
Conway
really?
just delighted in doing that up.
Does anybody else remember Merv Griffin sucking air through his teeth? He'd get excited.
Yeah.
And he did that song, I Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts. He's getting real big-eyed. But people that don't know it, he was responsible for a lot of those game shows, a lot of that stuff. And he was ruthless. He was like Disney in one little body.
He would get ideas. He'd go out to lunch. He would write something down on a napkin and bring it back, give it to his production company, and say, "Here, make a show out of this."
Yeah, he would.
Wheel of Fortune.
Here's a
trip. Those they're still long-standing.
He came up with Vanna turning letters. Oh my God! With all the automatic stuff in the world, you had to have Van up there turning letters. I got so tired of putting her yarn up when I worked for AC Moore.
Remember, there was another show that came on called Weekend. It was with Lloyd Dobbins and Linda Ellerbee. They talked a lot of stuff on there that you didn't hear anywhere else.
I remember that name. Yeah, a lot of these people, I mean, Geraldo did a show, and Steve sent me some things, and I ran it through YouTube to see what I could show you. There's a lot of songs and stuff on there, so they were like copyright left, right, and clip that out, and I wound up with some I could show you.
My Iron Maiden shirt tonight.
Iron Maiden.
It's Killers.
I saw him 6 times opening for Judas Priest. I had front row center every time.
I've seen Maiden like 30 times. That was one of my fun bands to go see them, and Cheap Trick.
Yep.
So it was a toss up between this and the Sabbath show tonight, but they didn't really talk too much about Sabbath, but they had Ozzy.
Price is Right.
And I don't have just an Ozzy t-shirt.
Yep. I think I got a piece of Ozzy. I think everybody's got a piece of Ozzy.
That was a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production. It was different than Merv Griffin, but Merv Griffin did his Bill Fortune.
Yeah, I can't remember all the different ones he did. He did some small ones that didn't make it big too. But the thing is he wouldn't keep them around. He'd just make another one. So, Yep. So there we go. Let's see what we got here. I forget what this is, but I think this is the intro to his. He did a thing, and on the same stage he had, that colonel guy that was an open Satanist that was in
Michael
in the
Aquino,
military.
and had
He was
Zena
there.
LaVey, daughter of Anton LaVey, who
Right.
famously had her father baptized her to Satan when she was a little girl, and she
Mm-hmm.
grew up in all that, and then she got out of it.
Mm-hmm.
She was with a guy that I later met called Nicholas Schreck, I think was his name. Boy, he was a weirdo. But
Yeah.
and then I think she passed away. I think she died of a drug overdose or something.
Oh, jeez.
Who's surprised with that? That's sad.
Wow.
I mean,
Can you
it's
imagine
sad.
what that soul's going through? Holy crap. Can you imagine? Did you
Well,
see
I
that
think
scene
I
in
think
the,
she repented though later on and
yeah. Well, then
gave her
she's
life
good.
to Christ. So
She's
hopefully
good.
she did.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes. All right, let's see what Geraldo's got. He's got his sleeves rolled up, so you know he means business. Here we
Yeah,
go.
he means business. He's going to wade in here and
I love that picture, Steve.
picture. Yeah, that was in that group of stuff I sent you that link.
It's said that a nationwide network of satanic criminals exists. Start with the warped and wicked Charles Manson.
It's everything that human beings don't understand. It's all their fears. It's what they're not sure of. You dig what I'm saying? Satan to me would be God.
Or the demented son of Sam killer David Berkowitz. These and others purportedly linked to the devil worship underground.
Satan. Yes, Satan.
It's all over the United States and probably all over the world because it's just something that people are experimenting with now.
Impossible to measure, easy to doubt. The very mention of it invites ridicule.
Come out.
No, I won't let her go. No. Often the choice is to avoid confronting it, ignore it, find other explanations, or laugh it off. That is not the choice we have made tonight. We have chosen to ask why. Via satellite, we'll be asking the youngest person on Oklahoma's death row, just 17 when he killed in the name of Satan, why he murdered his own parents. And to Southern California, where we will ask the parents of children in the notorious McMartin preschool why they claim their kids were satanically abused. And to London, where rock star Ozzy Osbourne will tell us why he feels he and heavy metal music are getting a bum rap. And to the state penitentiary in Angola, Louisiana, to ask convicted killer Charles Gervais why he thought the devil would award him 10,000 souls.
The Investigative News Group presents the Geraldo Rivera Special.
Members of our studio audience tonight will attest to that. They are friends and foes of Satanism, devil worshippers, and law
That guy's
enforcement.
eyebrows.
Asking why.
That's
Why
it.
does it exist? And why does it
Like
appeal to
Eno's
so many
eyebrows.
vulnerable people,
Those
especially
are
the
the
young?
devil right
See,
there.
go back. That's isn't this the daughter?
That's the Zena LaVey. Yeah, that's
Right
Tom
there?
LaVey's daughter right there.
Devil worshippers and law enforcers. Be asking why. Why does it exist?
And
And why
Aquino
does
was
it appeal
way
to
up in
so
the
many
military too.
vulnerable
He's a
people,
colonel.
especially the young?
Colonel.
Now, the very young and the impressionable should definitely not be watching this program tonight. This is not a Halloween fable. This is a real-life horror story, and it will give small children bad dreams. As for teenagers and their parents, we hope you are watching, because it's teenagers who are most likely to fall under the spell of this jumble of dark, violent emotions called Satanism, and in some cases, to be driven into committing terrible deeds.
It's a Nickelback
Being
concert,
into
I'm
heavy
pretty
metal
sure.
doesn't necessarily mean your kid's also into Satan.
I think it's Slayer,
And most
actually.
of these fans are not. But there is...
Yeah, who knows? All right, there's a little piece of it anyway. You get the gist and the idea, and I've got a couple other little pieces, throughout. I got a little bit of Ozzy and a little bit of Manson, and so you could just see how crazy he was, as if you didn't know already. But basically, this is like it was a 5-part series that he did, and he really did get in depth. And I didn't want to put the kids on here talking about, there was one kid who killed his mother and then killed himself. He committed suicide by cuts. He cut himself, killed her, almost removed her face, almost removed her head with a knife. Then he went after himself and cut himself so deeply in the throat that he almost severed his own head. I've never heard anything like it. This was a 14-year-old little kid who grew up in a family, and they had no idea. They saw stuff on his walls. They heard the music. He had a notebook where he was writing all this stuff, like a contract that he was signing, and he did all of the 10 commandments. He had to break all the 10 commandments. The last thing was human sacrifice and suicide, which he did. So there was one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. Story after story. Steve told you some. I mean, there was no end to these stories. And if they did catch them, now that 12, 13, whatever, 14-year-old kid, life in prison. So, there's, and that's what they want. They want you to destroy yourself. And, hopefully now some of these guys have found something that, that a little bit on the lighter side, or found God and asked for forgiveness and is doing what they can do. And others just kept on going, the other way. So either way, so many souls taken out. Now, I wanted to say something that I heard just yesterday, the day before, from a couple of people that I really trust, that they said that what they're putting out now is, and I believe this statement is wrong, they said that Satanism has gone up 167% from people that either did not believe in anything or moved from Christianity over. Now, and this is in the UK. Okay, this was a study done in the UK. I want to put a caveat to that and say what I think they're doing is sensationalizing that and saying it's Satanism, but I don't think it is. I think it's paganism. And paganism as a broad brush for anything that's Native American or nature-based or Druid or Wiccan or any of that. And that is a far cry from Satanism. Satanism is its own thing. It's even different than Luciferianism. And I'm no expert, but I can tell you that Satanism,
a lot of the pagans and Wiccans and
not
like that I know,
right.
They don't even profess a belief in the devil. They say that's a Christian invention to keep people in line.
So just be careful what you hear about this whole thing shift to paganism. I can almost see people going back to nature. I understand that. And I can see that would happen because so many people are reaching into the herbal community and planting gardens and stuff that they hadn't done before and getting that connection back in. And I think that's part of the natural ascension into the light is your connection to nature and the rhythm and balance of things, that we're all one. That's a whole different thing. That's a complete opposite of Satanism. So be careful if you hear that, and if you dig down and you research that. I think that somebody took that and put that in there, and again they're trying to distort reality with a nugget of truth wrapped in lies is what I'm saying. Does that make sense to you guys? So if you hear that, don't let it scare you, because again I find that people that go into nature always find the source.
Yeah, and that was basically what they were doing back then to create that panic. They lumped everything together. It was either Satanism or it was Christianity, and Wicca, witchcraft,
there's so many things in between,
paganism, Druids. That was all Satanism, and everything else. There was no differentiation.
Hey, Jamie. Hey, Jamie. Welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome in. Hey, Jamie.
Sapphire.
And Sapphire. Hello. 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 Oh yeah, that's right, Ted. Yep, there it is. And that's the thing, because I thought about it at first. I've learned to sit back and, first of all, consider the source, then research, then dig again and jump down the rabbit hole. But when I first heard it, I listened, with common sense ears at the time. And then thinking about it, I'm thinking what it is a lot of people are turning away from this organized 501c thing because they've lost, they don't want to just blindly follow anything. They want to follow their heart.
It's not what it used to be either.
Right.
Church, a lot of like these mega churches and the televangelists and stuff, they're all about themselves. They're glorifying the creation rather than the creator. And the church doesn't help people and do the thing. Now, I'm not talking all churches here, but just in general.
Certainly not the congregations.
These scandals in the Catholic Church and everything, it's turned. I couldn't tell you how many people I've met that are practicing atheists, which that's a contradiction in terms. If you're an atheist, you're not practicing anything. But they came out of the Catholicism just because of the cover-ups and the lies and the scandals and things. That I think Catholicism, and no offense to anybody here that's Catholic, you're path to salvation is yours and yours
But it's
alone.
not the
But I
people.
think if you look back at all the things the Catholic Church has done in the name of God, I mean, wars, killing,
Wars,
torture,
torture,
pedophile priests, it goes on
genocide.
and on and on. Yeah.
Yeah. And why wouldn't you turn to nature? It's the most natural thing. And we're all a part of that. We always think
And
we're
again,
separated, but we are nature. I don't
my
understand the
dad's
big jump.
grandmother, she was an herbalist, she was a naturalist,
Mm-hmm.
a yarb doctor, they called her over in Appalachia there. She didn't worship the devil. You know, it wasn't anything like, Hail Satan, drink this tea and you'll feel better. It was
Mm-hmm.
just
True,
she was
Glenn.
doing what she could with what she had. I mean, she was
Mm-hmm.
in, same with my grandma. Today they would be called a kitchen witch or,
Mm-hmm.
somebody like that. They didn't have an altar or a certain thing
Or a
they
green
used.
witch.
I mean, the bowl that my granny
The
used
names.
to scry in with water in the darkened room was the same bowl you might have been eating sausage gravy out of over your biscuits on Sunday.
That's a whole nother vision, ain't it, honey? Okay, I got another one here. I believe this is the one where they're talking about Ozzy, because this is going to take us a little bit. We mentioned a little bit about the music. You guys know that, that whole thing. I can remember, laughing when I forget the drummer from Metallica. His name is right there. Lars. Yeah. And he's there. And the guy from Twisted Sister, he's there. And, yeah, he did a great job. And it's all about censorship. And I was never for censorship, and I laughed and I said, the minute you put that sticker on, you're just going to sell albums, because that's what everybody's going to do. They really want to hear.
Back then, when they did that,
instant seller.
I would go to the record store in Oak Ridge, and there'd be little kids out there like, "Mister, would you take this 20 and go in there and buy me that whatever album?"
It's like liquor or anything else.
I used to have a T-shirt that said, "I buy music for underage kids."
And I think that's true.
I wouldn't buy liquor. I wouldn't buy alcohol, but I have bought Playboys and I have bought record albums for underage kids.
With the stickers. Yeah, and going to see our movies when you were younger. I mean, it's just all part of it. So the thing is you don't let other people parent your kids.
Yeah.
And again, I got in trouble for saying this once, but I'll say it again. Nobody raises my kids.
Resource Center. That was just basically a tea party looking for something to do, and that was their cause celeb that they decided to get behind and make everybody miserable. And they dragged everybody into court. I mean, they had Ozzy, they had Frank Zappa, they had Dee Snider. Remember, there was I think it was Senate or congressional hearings on rock music that was called by Tipper Gore and her coffee clutch there. That should have just minded their own business.
Yeah. But it's too, the parents that need that extra warning. I mean, you've got all this stuff and all these pentagrams and everything on things. And, again, I listen to AC/DC. I listen to, all these things. I saw Angus doing his little horns and stuff like this, but again, I wasn't practicing the stuff, and I wasn't the type of person that could latch into lyrics that were telling me this or that. I mean, if you want to look at lyrics that could guide you into something, don't fear the reaper. Don't fear the reaper. Do you know how many times as a floral designer and funeral, I've heard it more than once that they were listening to that when they OD'd, or they were, and there's different things throughout my life. I think, Bowie had one, and I know they were always after Ozzy and different things like that. And, I get both sides.
Suicide Solution, but it wasn't about that at all. It was talking about mixing pills and alcohol and how that could kill you.
It could kill you.
That's a suicide. Not the suicide was the solution, but the solution that those ingredients made was what would kill you.
There's definitely people up there that were blatant and said things.
Remember, there was some kid that tried to do himself and ended up just taking half his face off and lived, and they blamed it on Judas Priest. And they were listening to bits and pieces out of the music and
trying to blame
Rob
somebody
Halford
instead of
do it, but he was doing like hooah, hooah. It didn't even sound like do it. Yeah. Same with another one, Bites the Dust. Queen, you play that backwards. It says decide to smoke marijuana.
Paul is dead.
I don't think.
But see, this is the thing. I think a lot of people want to blame everything out there. but you're not.
And it's poor
You
parenting.
can't put your kids in a
poor
building with
impulse
strangers
control.
and trust them to teach them the truth. You know, do you know what they're reading? Do you know what they're teaching? I'm just saying, do you or did you when your kids were in school? You know, if you read some of that, you're going, what do you know? I remember being in school reading the books, going, this isn't the truth about Native Americans. What is this garbage?
Right, all this
You know?
revisionist history that's out there now, and the new math, and the outcomes-based education, that's done more harm than good. That's why kids are like the way they are. I mean, you go on TikTok and YouTube and you watch some of these young kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know,
And
you
the
lose.
video games. I don't care what Donnie
That's the
says or
people that's going to
anybody
be
else.
in
It's all part of the whole plan. If you don't know that, then
when we're in our
what are you
dotage,
doing?
that's the kids that are going to look after us, and I'm
The
scared of that.
movies, the shows. Right now on Netflix, I believe there's 8 shows about cannibalism. And one new one and another movie that just came out. I could be wrong on that. Some of it might be Hulu. So if you want to correct me and go, no, there's only 7 shows about cannibalism. One of them is on Hulu. I'm fine with that.
Eat the Rich. Or
there's so many.
I've seen people with a T-shirt that said "Feed the homeless to the hungry" solve both problems.
Trying to desensitize, trying to lure people in.
And, you know, and the sad thing about that, there are cases in other countries where there were revolution and famines and things going on where people actually had to resort to that. And I didn't really think about it. But when I was in Las Vegas, I was working at Treasure Island at the time, and I'd gone downstairs to the employee buffet, and it's the same food that they served upstairs to the regular paying guests, but it was just down there for the employees. And they had a menu board out there, one of those with the like the black light on it, and they would write in neon chalk what the special today was. Well, I thought it'd be funny to write "long pig" on there and see if anybody'd notice. And there was an Asian lady that worked there that came into the kitchen, and she flipped shit. I mean, she flipped her wig. She was like screaming at the cooks, and they were Hispanic. They had no idea. "Long pig, what's that? We don't know."
Glenn gets bacon.
And I think what had happened, she was an older Asian lady, and she probably lived through that time in Asia, parts of Asia, where they had to resort to that, where they did eat people to survive. And I think that's what
Donner Party.
they're so upset about. Donner Party before your table is ready.
Did you see what Glenn put?
The really white flesh cooking shows.
Yeah.
Now imagine Julia Child, the Galloping Gourmet.
Hello. You know that she was a spy? Did you know that Julia Childs was a spy during the war?
And another one, Dr. Ruth Westheimer, the little old lady that couldn't shut up about sex. She was a spy for the Israeli army.
You'd be surprised. The stuff that I know. All the stuff that we all know, right? Well, okay, let's see what Ozzy has to say. Well, you know, hear from the old goat's mouth. Here we go. I think this is Ozzy. Playing with my lights again.
Where the idea to do it came from? Well, it goes back to someone that I interviewed for our special last spring on murder and the frightening fascination verging on adoration that so many people felt for this person. A murderer who would have us believe that he is the incarnation of the devil.
I think this is Charles Manson.
Yeah.
Okay, I killed everybody since day one. I've murdered them all. I'm God and I've killed everybody.
Or the devil.
Oh, the devil, yeah, you could use the word devil or demons or whatever you want to call it.
Mostly the devil in your world, eh?
Well, okay, I'll play. There's no game I can't play. There's no game I haven't played.
You are the devil. Yeah.
Okay, I'll be the devil then.
Along with Hitler, cult leader Charles Manson is today's top satanic celebrity.
Yeah, I chopped up 9 hogs, and I'm going to chop up some more, you I'm going to kill you as many as I can. I'm going to pile you up to the sky.
Responsible for at least 9 ritual murders, Manson is revered by many modern-day devil worshippers who have adopted his philosophy of the mass extermination of those they consider unfit to live.
We would like to see most of the human race killed off because it is unworthy.
There's the guy that I told you.
It is unworthy of the gift of life.
Nicholas Schreck visited Charlie at
really?
San Quentin.
He sent me
a picture of his hero on his apartment wall
that he took,
and displays a lock of Manson's hair as if it were a sacred relic.
He sent you hair? That's crazy.
No,
well, there's
Manson. He had a lock of Manson's hair.
Yeah.
But no, he was a journalist, and he was on the list to visit Manson. And I was doing some research about Manson back in the 80s, and he was one of the people I corresponded with. His name got passed to me.
Tiger Lily's got to go. Say good night.
Good night, sweetheart. I love you. I'll talk to
There
you in
you
the
go.
morning. Love you too, baby.
Good night. Sleep tight. Keep your feet under the covers. Keep your closet door shut because our things
And
will bump in
he
the
sent
night.
me some pictures of Manson that he had made in prison. Sent me like it wasn't a slide, but it was like the negatives. He sent me the negatives, and I used some of those in a zine I was putting together about true crime back in the day. And he also sent me some tapes of Charlie that had been smuggled out, and he was actually, for the time and the kind of music that he did, he was an okay
Glenn Campbell loved him.
singer. Yeah,
and so did Neil
Young.
Young. And
Neil Young called him the Wizard.
yeah,
the Beach
and
Boys were infatuated with him. Never Learned Not to Love that the Beach Boys did. That was based on a Manson song called Cease to Exist, and then they changed it to Cease to Resist and made a love thing out of it, and then changed it up, and Manson was mad about that. But I actually wrote to Manson, and he wrote back, and I had a P.O. box. It was one of these mail drop places where it was like an address, like 3343 so-and-so Turnpike Suite 491, but it was just a little box, like a mailboxes, etc. And he sent me a letter, and it was one of the craziest things I'd written him. I was talking about how I was putting my little magazine together, and I was doing it on a computer, and it was pure Charlie. He's like, yeah, man, that's me. That's where I am. I'm a 1 or a 0, black, white, good, evil. I'm a 0 with a slash through it, because in the old days in computers, that was how they differentiated a 0 from the number. It was a 0 with a slash through it. So Charlie dug it. And then I loaned that letter to somebody for a criminology class they were taking, and I think the instructor never got it back.
See? Can't loan books, can't loan anything like that because you don't get it back.
Can't loan letters from Charles Manson. And a lot of people get lined out. Geraldo kind of danced around it there, said that Manson was ultimately responsible for the murders. And nothing grates on my nerves more than people, serial killer Charles Manson.
He never killed him.
He never killed one person. And all they could charge him with was conspiracy to commit murder.
Right.
Because he supposedly
it was all part of the MK Ultra shit.
Other people, and they did the killing and stuff. Go and do something witchy. That could be anything. That's what he told them to do. Tex Watson did the killing. Susan Atkins did the killing. All those people that went along were responsible. And Charlie didn't do anything. I mean, there's people that have murdered people just in cold blood that served less time than Charlie did. And I studied that trial when I was in college. At that time, that was the longest, most expensive trial in U.S. history. I went out to L.A., went to the Hall of Justice downtown when it used to be downtown there, and looked through some of those court transcripts. That was the biggest miscarriage of justice that ever. I mean, change of venue.
All of this stuff is just ran.
One day,
Manson, the narrative, they're going to run it the way they want to run it.
Newspaper, the L.A. Times, big 120-point font, Manson guilty, declares Nixon. Well, they've already, and this is a man that's on trial. They've already convicted him in the public eye. And then here's the sitting president.
They did it again here recently.
Declaring
a young
guilty.
Kid that was defending himself not too long ago.
Manson smuggled that in, held it up. That should have been a mistrial right there. And this was when I was taking law classes. And my 100%. Professor agreed. I was the only one that argued that was not conducted the way it was supposed to be. But the judge asked the jury, well, did you see what he held up? And the jury, no, we weren't paying attention. One guy said he was asleep.
Don't get me started, AJK.
Just let it continue. Bugliosi, he made a name for himself with this trial. He wrote Helter Skelter, which is just full of lies and half-truths and fabrications. If the closest book that you can find is by a guy named Ed Sanders, and he was a guitarist for a rock band called the Fugs, F-U-G-S. He's got a book called The Family, and it actually had a chapter in it when it first came out about the Process Church. The Process Church of the Final Judgment they had headquarters out there in California, and that's where Manson developed his teachings from these people. And there's a tie-in between the Process Church of the Final Judgment, Manson.
To the root, Ted, to the root.
Salem, all these guys, you can trace it all back to the Process Church of the Final Judgment. And most people don't know that.
And to also, this guy really kicked it back up again. He, like you said, almost like a P.T. Barnum in a way, because he was really good at
He was a huckster. He was a carny.
Yeah.
He was a
Yeah.
showman. He knew how to lure people. You'll see the monkey boy and then play his organ or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, they want him to do that to come worship Satan, see the naked girl on the altar. He had a house there in San Francisco that he painted black. I've been in the neighborhood. I saw the house when I was out there last spring. It's not black anymore, but that was the Hotel California, that his mansion where he held these services was on California Street in San Francisco, and that's part of the inspiration for the Eagles Hotel California. And on the original vinyl album, on the gatefold, I don't remember if it's inside or on the back, but there's a figure up on a balcony, and it's a bald-headed man wearing black. It's Anton LaVey. So, Witchy Woman, Hotel California, which way were the Eagles
so
flying?
true, Anna. So true. And I'll tell you something, they did that in the 80s. They dropped it all in the ghettos. I mean, by the crate. I kid you not. Then came the crates of pew-pews. And then 2022, they delivered the pipes and the other stuff. So there's your government at work,
in
thoroughly
Portland,
finishing
Oregon,
off.
a few years
So it
ago,
took 4 decades for him to get it all
when
thing
all
full
that was
circle.
going on, somebody paid to have pallets of bricks dropped off in downtown Portland. Now, who paid for that? Supposedly it was George Soros and some of those people. And there you have people that's their goal for whatever reason, is to destroy America from within. And the people like that they can get to do these things, they call them useful idiots.
Yep, and destroy lower the property value, buy it up, put up $1 million condominium.
Those people won't be part of the ruling people. They'll be put to death, just like everybody else.
It's crazy,
read
man.
up on Agenda 21, the Georgia Guidestones, even though somebody blew those up.
They got zapped, didn't they? Yeah,
but
the same stuff they got that
the
face
game
off of
plan.
that brick wall too.
That's
That was a little crazy.
plan. And a lot of this, it's not conspiracy theory, it's conspiracy fact. We're seeing it come to light. And the thing that they got me, they denied MK Ultra. Well, now, okay, yeah, we did do that. They denied the Tuskegee experiment.
Because they got bigger stuff in the Super Bowl there.
They injected all these black soldiers and prisoners with syphilis just to see how, and didn't tell them to see how they would react. They dosed soldiers with LSD to see how they reacted to it. Operation Paperclip. I've had people stand and look at me and say,
holy
that's
shit,
just a theory. Operation Paperclip never existed. I call bullshit. My dad worked right alongside a guy that had come over from Germany. I went to school with his son and went to their house one day. I've told this story before. He opened up what I thought was their fallout shelter, their bomb shelter.
They can, AJK.
All this war memorabilia. And I'm like, wow, Tom, your dad really loves his memorabilia. He said, you don't understand, Steve. He said, that was my dad's uniform. And it was an SS uniform. So Operation Paperclip is a conspiracy theory.
Argentina.
I Lily White
covered it here. Absolutely. I would see. Well, I got a little bit here. I want to read you on Anton. I thought this was interesting. No. It's cool. It's cool. This is from the magazine Diabolique magazine, and I wanted to give credit to well, this isn't the author. This is the person that shared it there. Mr. Fisher. Can't pronounce your first name. Get a better first name so I can pronounce it and I'll say it. So anyway, this is a little bit about Anton. When the Church of Satan was established by Anton LaVey in 1966. Now think about that. It took a little bit to grow, and then boom, you start getting the stuff in the 70s.
Satanic, he declared.
When I start showing you these movies.
The year of Satan.
Yep. So Anno Santanas, the first year in the age of, it was called the Age of Satan. Okay. The man of great charisma and considerable celebrity status already. It wasn't long before his newfound practice became the focus of media sensation, in turn making Satanism more mainstream than it ever was before. Now, this was in 66. Again, I'm showing you how it popped up.
Later on,
again,
you had people like
that
Jane
doesn't mean it
Mansfield
didn't exist beforehand.
that joined the Church of Satan. Sammy Davis Jr.
Yes, big in it. Big in it.
Yeah.
Oh, so many. So at the time, America was a country experienced a transitional period. The civil rights movement was underway, which was not only fought for and acquired rights for African Americans, it also the emerging culture challenging and rejecting archaic values and belief systems, which is kind of sort of what's sort of going around. It's kind of coming around again, which is why I mentioned that about them putting out the narrative that 160, it's gone up 167%. I mean, how does that even, what are you basing on? I need to know your baseline. Where are you coming with that?
There's
What are you
figures
including?
out there that
Broad brush.
4 out of 5 doctors, who
doesn't
knows?
make sense to me. So it's I mean, I think it's probably nature and
figures never
paganism.
lie,
There's
but
nothing wrong with
liars
that.
always figure or something like that. You can make up your own statistics about anything.
Like the Vikings.
You can
like
have
Native Americans.
your own opinions, but you can't have your own facts. There's only one set of facts.
Right. Facts are funny things. So said John Adams. Okay. The then president, Lyndon Johnson, don't get me started, endorsed liberalism in politics established by JFK prior. That's a 6-part series. I'm working on it. The rise of, and it might be 9 or 10. I mean, I'm just telling you, I'm picking 6 off the top of my head, and I'm being, I'm being careful there. The rise of rock and roll was taking over and encouraging young people to break free of conservative shackles, questioning authority, and embrace free love and autonomy. Still, despite being merely a reflection of culture spawning which sought to reject or redefine traditional values, anything or anybody associated with Satan was the cause of much distress and widespread fear in America. So that kind of took off the Satanic Panic. I mean, people are, of course, then, you can watch movies like Chalkboard Jungle, Glenn Ford. I can't believe I remembered his name. He was the teacher, and the bad kids were, were just they had the grease back hair, and they didn't even have leather jackets then. They just had like these windbreakers, there was bad gangs, and how it's changed. And now, we've got this real horror with these kids. And that's one of the reasons I do this show, because a lot of people with abilities get very confused when they're young. Can you imagine having the abilities? You see dead people like our little Sixth Sense kid. I know plenty of them. And other people who have abilities, they don't quite know what to do with them, and they have no guidance. They already feel like they're outcasts. They already feel like they can't talk about it maybe with their family or friends, because you ask anybody who's made it to my part and go back on what we had to go through as kids. A lot of times you just shut up and you didn't tell. Like, look, you got this dead kid following you around in class, he's trying to tell you something, you're not listening, and they think you're crazy. I mean, just that's why I reach out to kids with abilities and say, please, please, please find a positive outlook. I mean, look, try the positive first. If you don't find what you're looking for in the light, and you decide, you got free will, you go to your crossroads. That's why this picture is such a big deal to me, because when I picked it right out of all the stuff that Steve showed me, because it reminded me so much of the ravine, where this poor guy is going through the house and he's just tore up. He's been given a nugget of truth wrapped in lies. Both sides are talking to him, trying to get him, pulling at him, and he takes that turn. And once he got caught up and he couldn't stop, and after that goes away. And now you just have all the pain of what you've done and what you chose to do. And he couldn't deal with it, and he committed suicide. And I wonder how many stories there are like that in this world, because I really think this is what it is. This is what it looks like. You're going crazy, and you've got both sides. So that's why I say, look within you and pull up that divine spark. And, it doesn't matter what other people think or anything else. It's what you feel and how you feel, and you're dealing with you. Keep those lights on, because darkness is everywhere. It's everywhere, and it's getting stronger. Oh, good. We get to bake some cupcakes. Go, babies, go. Woo, we hadn't seen them in a while. Let me get the kitty up here. Let me get the kitty. I think Steve popped out, and we'll bring him back in. We're going to bake some cupcakes for that little son of a gun. Who got him? Who got him? Who was
CIA,
first?
The Illuminati tried to shut me down, apparently.
Pern alert, Pern alert. Oh, did they? Did they get you? Bingo, Ted. Ted got him.
And I'm on 1.2 gigabit internet here. So it's the fastest you can get.
Yeah.
They get
Don't
fiber
get tangled up in the inner tube, Steve. Don't get tangled up in the inner tube. Okay. Well, I got a couple things here. That's Anton. So what has happened was that kind of kicked it off. And of course, celebrity just flocked to this guy like nobody's business. So you got Jane Mansfield was a big part.
He was controversial, and
he
was getting a lot of ink in the newspapers and people like that. I mean, Jane Mansfield, remember, she's the one that sang Kennedy, Happy Birthday to Kennedy. falling out of her dress and stuff. Anything she could do to get her name out there, she was going to do. But there was an interview with him where he thinks he may have inadvertently killed her. He had some kind of falling out with her boyfriend at the time, Mickey Haggerty, who was a mobster, and he was cutting something out about Haggerty, and on the opposite page, or the facing page, or the back of what he was cutting out, there was a picture of Jane Mansfield, and he noticed when he clipped the article out that he had cut her head off, and he thinks he told her to stay away from Haggerty, that he had put a death curse on him. So who knows? But Cisco, I'm going to take a minute here. I'll be right back.
Go right ahead. I'm going to talk about this lady, Michelle, here. So Michelle writes a book called Michelle Remembers, and I don't know her last name. I could look it up. But right now, the most important thing is that she was one of the first people to come out and have the reoccurring memories of satanic ritual abuse. And her book really took off. Yeah, Marilyn Monroe. That's right, Glenn. And they were kind of in, rivalry between Jane Mansfield and Marilyn. So that's probably why Steve got them mixed up. And they both had big boobs and blonde. So, after a while, all the boobs start looking alike. Okay, so she really did a brave thing and put this book out, of course, to great ridicule. And I mentioned her today because, again, I got in all this, like I said, JFK stuff, all, so that tinfoil hat crap came out, especially when Signs came out and everybody was talking a lot about the tinfoil hats and stuff. But, again, now I'm sitting here, just had, and thank you for all the birthday wishes, by the way. Thank you very much for all the ones on Facebook and everywhere else. You guys are too kind. I appreciate it so much. And it was a lovely birthday day. And 61, here I am. So screw all those people that said I wouldn't make it past 21 or that I would be in jail or something else. Hey, Amy, welcome in. You made it. But I'm sitting here thinking, when I got in this, it was all about the kids and people not believing the survivors and their stories and the things that they're saying. And then they were getting turned over to the people that did it to them, the parents or oh, thank you, Amy. Thank you so much. And happy birthday to you. I forget exactly when you said it was. I couldn't remember it's the beginning or toward the end of January, but happy birthday back to you, sweetheart. And so I kind of, hold this woman up because she was one of the first to write the book, again, amongst great ridicule. But when you start getting these stories, you start getting the Savills, all the other, and as deep as that crap goes. And thanks, Ted. And the 15th. Okay. That's the same day as my dad, the 15th. There's a lot of people in January. What's 9 months before January? Is it a hot month or is it a locked inside with your spouse month? 9 months back from January. I don't know. Somebody do that math and figure out what's causing all the January babies. Happy birthday to me. Thank you so much. Had a beautiful cake of black roses. Thank you, Uncommon Belief. It was absolutely gorgeous and very tasty. I might have a piece after the show. So that's something to look forward to with a little extra honey in my tea. Thank you, Renice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So anyway, that's why I herald this woman. She went through a lot. And that kind of kicked stuff back up again because with the Anton LaVey stuff, everybody's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. That would never happen. And now we've got a statue. Wasn't there just one erected like a couple of weeks ago or a couple months ago? Am I forgetting? A statue to Satan. You got Moloch all over the place. You got all kinds of stuff. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Once you know the symbols and you know the signs and you know the phallic symbols and don't get me started. I think we went yellow a long time ago. We're probably red and dead in the water here now, but there she is. And that kind of kicked off things again. So again, you've got the stuff with the Beatles. This was an album cover. I can't remember if it got released or it got printed and they pulled it beforehand. And that's why this cover is so valuable. Yeah, he's a scary dude. But again, there's lots of rumors about the Beatles and, all this other BS. And I know people that have played on their albums and they took credit for it and didn't even give the person credit. The music world, right? I mean, here you go. You got a bunch of narcissistic people that just want to spend their lives doing everything they possibly can, including selling out their own beliefs and their own soul and everything else, just to make strangers pay attention to them, and money, and have somebody tell them how great they are. When was the last time you saw, people like, I just got done watching, and please tell me why, I'll never get this time back from my life, but I started watching and I had to finish. I had no idea. I knew Tammy Wynette was married to George Jones for a short time. I knew they were together and they were a thing, but I never really paid attention. I only saw it when I was a kid and people had He on, or the Grand Ole Opry was on, or, the Stand By Your Man and all that kind of crap, and that divorce thing where they're spelling it out, Divor. Oh, geez. Hit me in the head with a bottle. But I respect somebody that went through that kind of stuff and still tried to pull themselves together. Well, it seems like every time you dig into these lives of these people, they're absolutely miserable. They're addicted to pills. They're addicted to drugs. They're addicted to alcohol. They're addicted to sex, to gambling, any combination of the three. They've got so much money. They're out of their minds half the time with everything they're doing, and they're so busy, and they got an entourage, and at least one or two people in the entourage is screwing them over, either in the money or the drugs, or, they're screwing the spouse, or they're, trying to steal the children, and they're standing up here on stage with all this glitz, glitter, and sequins and singing how much they love each other. They go to the back room, beat the hell out of each other. I mean, what? I actually heard this woman, Tammy Wynette. Has anybody else watched this show? Anybody watch this show? It's Tammy and George, or whatever the hell. I mean, it's, it's hard to watch because I kept waiting for a good song to come in. And I'm like, okay, she had 20 number one hits. He had 10, I think, which also had to be hard for him, because that was kind of like a Star is Born story kind of thing, where he was going out and she was just thought he was the greatest thing, and she had a fantasy and loved him, and then she finally got with him and found out the fantasy was better in her head than it was in her bed, kind of thing. So how many people can tell that story? So I'm telling you, stick with the fantasy, girls, and guys too, because once you unless you get lucky, but just saying. So let me get this picture. This is awful. I mean, you can do anything for an album cover. When are you sitting around? You know what would be a great idea? Let's put on white coats for no apparent reason. We'll appear to be like, what, medical doctors? Is that what they are? I'm not sure. Are they butchers? Are they medical doctors? Are they EMT? There's bad dressers. I don't know what they're supposed to be here. Are they butchers? Because I don't see any knives. I guess that would have been over the top, right? But it's okay to have headless, naked dolls, and it looks like slabs of bacon, maybe, which is love, but I don't like it so much raw. Or maybe it's ribs. It's not bacon. It can't possibly be bacon. But either way, the butchers, is that what they're supposed to be? Okay. So are there any songs in here that have anything to do with cutting meat? Is there? Because I don't have the album, nor will I purchase it, and I'll never listen to it in my life. So is there any songs about how much they love to chop meat, or they really like bacon, or cows, slaughterhouses? What were they trying to portray here? Because this makes no sense to me. It's absolutely bizarre. And you could do anything. How about a picture of you guys dressed really nice in your Nehru jackets, maybe, in front of a waterfall, holding your instruments, maybe, instruments like guitars, not other instruments, because there's album covers, I'm sure, like that too. But anyway, it doesn't make any sense to me. So what the hell is that? Yeah, 0 cents. That's what I've got. No sense in my head about why would you choose to. You could do anything on your album. You know what was a good album cover? I shit you not, because I was in art class and it was stunning to me. Wait for it. There's a lot of them out there, but this one got me. The Cars, Candy-O. Now, fellas, am I right? That I thought that was a beautiful album cover. It was just the way it was airbrushed, and everything else. But I was a big Hildebrandt fan too. You know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, a half naked chick laying on a unicorn, I guess. So, you know, on a car isn't bad either. But I love that album cover. I looked at it as an artsy thing. There is nothing artsy about this to me. This is stupid. And I don't understand. Oh, we're going to do this. Chicks will love it. What was the selling point for this album cover? Did you see what I mean? It would have been better if they just done it all in black, like the Black Album from Spinal Tap. We were so black, it was blacker than black. You know, that would have been better. But I guess they got the hint because they did the White Album, I think, after this, right? So let's just make it white. Don't even use colors. Yeah, I don't get it. So like that, see, that's better, right? So much better. Oh, okay. So this was this is the censor, you know, the censorship trials trying to get these things censored. Now, I'm going to tell you this. As looking at this as a teenager, I thought it was silly. Again, it made you go out and get the album. Not me, because I didn't buy a lot of albums anyway. I went out with a guy who did. There's easy answer to that. It wasn't anything I was trying to protest or anything. It was just he bought the albums. He listened to them once and gave them to me, and then I kept the ones I wanted to keep. You date band members, you get albums, and you get to go see concerts, and you get to hear good music. So I thought it was silly. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe that given the chance that people can make their own choices and their own decisions and what they want to do. If you want to be a Satanist, that is your business. I know plenty of Satanists that were and then left and came back. They're fantastic. They learned, they got to a point where they were like, okay, this is what I'm, whoa, wait, stop the truck, you know, full stop. And, you know, went to something else and found what they were looking for there. And then other people that did the other thing. Again, my thing is, it's not in the light, you know, and you'll have people argue with that. But once you get to a certain thing, just like anything else, like Steve was saying early, you know, Illuminati, Masons, any club, anything, there's always the higher up things and the lower people don't really know. And the people boots on the ground are trying to do their best job, but the higher ups is corrupt. And I mean, you can pretty much paint that broad brush all around for just about anything. But this is when it started. Now, well, not started, but when you heard about it. And again, like Steve said, they made it like a joke. But again, some people, if you have a 10-year-old that's, you know, I can remember my mom not letting me watch certain movies, and then she told me why, you know. I mean, when she took me to see Billy Jack, there's a rape scene in there. I mean, there was a wrestling going on in the fourth row there because she's trying to cover my eyes and I'm trying to see. And I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, oh geez, I don't know this. This girl was like 9 or 10. But, you know, I can remember that she tried. She was there. You know, if I had any questions, I could go to her with stuff like, this isn't right, you know, but I was told why it wasn't right, you know, and I tried to do that with mine. But, you know, if you've got a kid and his walls are covered in things and he's starting to carve out, you know, Ozzy or pentagrams and stuff in his forehead and his hand, you probably got a problem brewing. Start spending time with this individual and start seeing what's going on, because they're trying to find their path. And it's just like any gang. You know, kids are going to try to find their tribe, you know, and that's just the way it is. And if they don't find it where they need to find it, they're going to go elsewhere and find it. So that opened up a lot of things. The McMartin School, I didn't know if Steve has anything on this, but I wanted to talk real quick about some of the movies that came out. When I pulled up these movies, I want you to see this. I'm going to share it. Hold on. Let me find the button. Let me get this off and share this. When I looked up just Satanic Panic movies, and this pops up. If you guys could see it. Can you see that, Steve? It should pop up. Okay. This is from Nick Nefarious. He's posted here on his little blog on this blog here about it. But it was pretty interesting. And he's just suggesting for month of October Halloween list of movies to watch. So these are all titles found in my video collection of the witch cult Satanic B movies of the 60s and 70s variety. Okay. A bunch of films that creeped me out when I was a kid back in the 1970s. It was a great decade for horror films. These days, they lack the atmosphere. I agree. The eerie vibes. I agree. Great storytelling and imagination that the old films of that era had. I agree. However, these movies that came out, and you're thinking this is the 70s now, and I'm showing you this top one here. It says The Brotherhood of Satan, 1971. Okay. And it's based on a family is trapped in a desert town by a cult of senior citizens who recruit the town's children to worship Satan. Now, I've got a list here. Watch it go. This is all 1970s. It's all Satanic Panic.
Look so much good stuff there. And that one there, the Blood on Satan's Claw, that's considered part of the folk horror unholy trilogy of Blood on Satan's Claw, Witchfinder General, and The Wicker Man. Those are the big three that have to deal with the land and what was going on in England with the Standing Stones and all this. Devil's Reign was a good one. Ernest Borgnine was in that. Another really excellent one was Race with the Devil. Do you remember that one with Peter Fonda and
that one there?
Loretta Swit. Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
That's based on something else. I'm going to read you the thing on that
People were out in the desert and they encountered some sort of cult out there doing some kind of thing. They ran and the cult chased them.
Yep. They saw a human sacrifice. It was 4 people out in the RV, putzing around, and they came into the woods trying to find a place to, to free park or whatever, free camp, whatever you want to call it. And they see a human sacrifice, and they see them see, and then the chase is on. So it kind of mixed that whole kind of duel thing that was, just come in and all this, and it had all these elements to it. But I'll tell you, it's
Dennis Weaver and then that truck.
It's not easy peasy. Like, if you've not seen these things, this is, again, 1970s, the stuff that they had out there. This is Summer of Fear. This is Linda Blair. Of course, she put this out right after The Exorcist. Satan's Cheerleaders was another one. Of course, the Dunwich Horror.
Little H.P. Lovecraft. That had
Here's your trilogy. Here's your trilogy of terror right here. You've got Rosemary's Baby, The Omen, and The Exorcist. What are they trying to tell us in the 70s, guys? Look at this. Look at this. And my favorite, I always tell you about Crowhaven Farm, ABC's movie of the week. But listen, that's a nightmare come to roost here. Now, the first one I told you about was this one that Steve was telling you about as well. And I've got a little trailer they're going to let me show you. So you get a little taste of what this looked like. You ready? Take your small children, small dogs, and you might want to cover your eyes, Ted. Here we go.
There are things in heaven and on earth beyond the comprehension of man. Call them what you will. The occult, witchcraft.
Satan! Behold thy supplicant!
Devil worship.
Rise and come in, child. Can't you forget another lifetime with the Brotherhood of Satan?
So some power, something, has prevented anybody from getting in or out of Hillsborough for the last 3 days.
26 people slaughtered in a little over 72 hours. 6 families wiped out. All those kids missing.
Witches, black artisans, celebrants of the Black Mass. Each missing child was in a specific age group from 6 to 9.
Come in, children. My baby! My baby! Not your baby, our baby, Satan's baby!
The Black Mass, blood sacrifice.
What we have here is a failure to communicate. Wow. 1970. Now, this had a rating on it. It wasn't PG, it was GP, and I don't know what that is. It actually comes through at the end of the thing.
General
Rated
public or something like
yeah,
that.
general public, something like that. Can you imagine? And it went, and those were the good parts. Just saying. Some of it,
And
I was like, oh my gosh.
all
Now,
ages
what are
of
they
it.
telling you?
Kids could go and see that.
Mhm.
They're kind of glorifying it, if you
Mhm.
will. Like, look at this, or here's something,
Yep.
this is what goes on. You could be a part of this too.
Mhm.
If you're dissatisfied with your church or community group or whatever, then you can
Yep.
join the Brotherhood of Satan. And
Mhm.
again, it started out as
It's that draw.
entertainment, and then led people into it as a lifestyle, and people that were actually going and doing the things they saw on the screen.
Now, you hear what they're doing here and what they said about all the kids missing, all the families wiped out,
And
and
it's
all
it's
this.
also, I think it's programming. It's desensitizing. You accept this.
1971. You look at what's going on. So again, is it like the Camilio and Guthrie? Now, there's a little thing I pulled up for you, Steve. I know how much you love this stuff. One of the fun little nostalgic things about this, and they often did things like this with movies to promote them, and they always found a way. Hitchcock was great at that. But when you bought a movie ticket when this first opened, the first couple of weeks, you actually got a little packet of what was called evil seeds. Now, they weren't to grow evil. They were to grow a plant that was supposed to give off light that surrounds you and protection, so that you could go see this movie and you wouldn't get any Satan on you. That's what it said, basically, on the package. Nobody knows for sure if anything evil or good grew from the seeds, but you got 2 of them with every ticket. So I guess the planting in your whatever fertile ground you have was up to you. But that's with them. Yep. And so many of these, like Steve said, with Race with the Devil, this Race with the Devil was based on a true story. I can't tell you how many of these stories. And of course, when the kids came out and gave their stuff, they'd throw that in a movie. Like I said, this was huge. There was so many movies that came out just in the 70s. I would say, I dare say hundreds, well over 100.
Oh, yeah.
They just put them out.
The
I would say
Exorcist kind of
200
kicked
easy.
everything off again. Right
Yeah.
after that, there was all these devil movies, all these exorcism movies.
Yep.
I mean, you already had a bunch, but even more trying to cash in on that. It was popular. There were
Yep.
people lying around the block in Times Square and places like that to see The Exorcist. They were playing it around the clock because people couldn't pack in there enough to see it. They had people passing out in the theater, people, just having breakdowns and stuff. I didn't see it till I was an adult. I was afraid to, because, you heard about that when you were a kid, that people went and saw The Exorcist and bad things happened to them. It was like, it was the anti-marketing of it to some degree. But, to some people, that was appealing. This is so bad and so evil. I've got to go see it.
Wow. Yeah, well, that's it. That's what did it. It's so bad, I got to go see it. That's why people did The Exorcist and, all the different ones. I was never into these. I never liked all that. There's one, what is it called? Diphtheria or something, or, where everybody's going crazy in the school, the girls' school. It's all girls' school, or the Catholic school, whatever. Again, my whole point is Camilio Guthrie. If they were showing us that was going on 20 years to 15 years before, they had it full-fledged. The only reason they're allowing you to see it then is because they're onto something else, or it's bigger, or they're confident in covering it. Because I'm telling you, this is not as it's just like everything else. When I grew up and I found out, well, that's not so scary because it's not real. That's not so scary because it's not real. I could always say that when I was a kid. I can't say that as an adult anymore because it's all freaking real. I mean, it's just like, it's all real. Oh my God.
Indeed.
But I
And
know who wins that battle. So
the movies only show part of it. I mean, there's things that are real that are far worse than what they show on the screen. It's
definitely.
it's a form of
it's
programming,
so bad.
desensitization, and acceptance. You're barraged with all this day after day after day after day. It becomes part of the pop culture, if you will. and then people don't bat an eye at it anymore. Like the very first zombie movie where they actually showed them eating flesh was Romero's Night of the Living Dead. There was
in
people
black
that
and white.
fainted, people that threw up, people that got up and left the theater, but that kicked off that whole thing with zombies eating flesh and stuff.
So true, Amy.
And then you have certain movies like that are kind of a linchpin that they take that and then they got to raise it up a level or two.
How about that? I didn't know that. That's something. Yeah. I mean, my gosh. Well, I wanted to tell you just a titch about Crowhaven Farm, because I'm always telling you about mentioning this one. If you haven't seen it, and I haven't found a free link yet, but I will look, and if I find one, I'll stick it maybe if not YouTube, maybe that other one, Daily Motion or something. Oh, you got to see it.
Some of those movies are just so good. Those and it's made for
it was
TV
so
movie.
good. But here's the thing:
it's Salem's Lot. That was a TV movie. That was one of the scariest TV movies ever made.
Yeah. And it was the slow burn. The thing that got me about Crowhaven Farm, I saw it as a young kid, probably the night it appeared here, because I would have just knocked over people to get to it. But she gets it's that famous thing where the aunt, the estranged aunt, dies and leaves her farm, and she moves in with her husband, and they're trying to have a baby, and it's all about that kind of mess, kind of like a Rosemary's Baby on the Farm kind of deal, but it's different. It's similar in the way that all of the people that are friends and everything else, all of a sudden she realizes they're not who she thought they were, and that happens in Rosemary's Baby. Spoiler alert, but if you haven't seen it after 45 years, you're probably not gonna. But that's what happens to her, and the extra little tasty bit that was in there for me was the fact that she was reincarnated, and this has all happened before, and she had really done them wrong in this other life and went against them, and she owed a debt, and it followed her through generations, and she had to go back through it, and all of the people turned on her, and they wound up crushing her with a door with the rocks, like that more weight thing, and one of the witches wound up with her husband and her baby and the whole bag.
They call that
crushed to death. Oh God, pressed to death. You're right.
Pressed, yeah.
It was the most horrible thing I'd ever seen in my life, and I never forgot it. So good on you, Hope Lang. But some of those, I think, like the way it expanded, like Steve said in the beginning, like the whole reefer madness thing and everything, if they make it a joke, if they take the truth and they make it a joke, and they make fun of the people, and they say that they're wearing a tinfoil hat and conspiracy theorists, and everybody knows where that came from. They came from the 60s after Mark Payne? I can't remember his name. Actually, his first edition of the book on the Kennedy situation was spot on. After the first printing, they made him change things and take stuff out, so the second printing doesn't have the same stuff. So if you want to read his book, get the first edition, which is hard to get, and it's not cheap. But that's where the CIA made him look like a fool. All these, or these agencies, whoever was in charge, and put out conspiracy theorists just to make him look like an idiot,
And
but
there are agents of disinformation, people that the government or whoever's in charge send out to go to these meetings, to infiltrate, even like UFO conventions and things like that, to try to sway opinion one way or the other, to debunk people, to make fun of people that have had experiences, to just because if you can cause division and strife within a community that's trying to figure something out, they're going to fight with each other and not concentrate on whatever riddle it is they're trying to solve. And that's the same with the Kennedy assassination. Anything that's hidden that they don't want you to know, you've got all these people spreading all this wrong information to get infighting started. It's that way in the Bigfoot community, the cryptid community, the ghost community, the UFO community. If you can keep them fighting, they're paying attention to that and not paying attention to what it is they're trying to figure out. Who are you showing there?
This is the girl who played the creepy witch kid in Crowhaven Farm. I mean, she was just, oh my gosh. she just creepy out walking in the room, and people would recognize her. I'm trying to get a good picture. You can kind of sort of see her a little bit. But she was the creepy kid you'd recognize if I turn it just right. Sometimes we can get it clear. There she is. Well, screw her. She's probably a witch. I can't show her a reflection. Or something, or vampire. But anyway, she was a creepy kid that was in the 70s. There was a lot of them that went around. And it just really built up. So what I'm trying to say in a backdoor way is if they were showing us this in the 70s, what's going on? These, like Michelle there that put that out there, what she went through, it's very difficult being a survivor of something like this or something like any, trauma. But to go
then have
through
people
the
to
things,
come along and say, no,
yes,
that didn't happen. You're just lying. You're making stuff up. Same with the McMartin preschool kids. Those kids know what happened to them and about being taken down into tunnels underneath the school and all this. And then they discredited all those witnesses, all the children. They were lying.
Yep, here
et
they
cetera,
are.
et cetera, et cetera. But you had these kids that suddenly turned up with sexually transmitted diseases. The only thing they had in common, they went to this preschool. And then later on, they leveled the place, and they found where there were indeed tunnels underneath the school that had been filled in sometime between when they went to trial and
Here they are
the
here.
guy Ray and the woman.
This is the woman. This is the woman off here to the side here. I mean, it's something. And during this time, within a 5-year span, during this trial, there was over 12,000 victim cases that had tried to press charges, not on just them, but other people that were doing this, other schools. The big ones, again, Boys Town, all of the kids that were taken and given out, and this rabbit hole here is a dark and ugly one.
Kind of the same thing.
Yep.
It just.
I mean, with names and everything else, and
And
describing moles
judges,
on their
politicians. It was the people that had respect and authority, and then they were going and doing these things because that's who you would least expect. And they did stuff to trip the kids up, like they would have people in cartoon costumes and stuff. Oh well, who touched you in your naughty place? So it was Mickey Mouse.
That's right. Look over here,
and,
not over there.
Well, that sounds like the kids making it up, but who's to say it wasn't an adult in a Mickey Mouse costume doing this stuff down in the tunnels?
Right. And how are you're going to take a 6-year-old that's been through stuff. 6-year-old can watch a Disney movie and maybe tell you, an eighth of it. Okay. Because there's so much stimulation going on, the music, the colors, the flashing, the popcorn, what's going on in their situation around them, and then you get them, okay, come on out and tell me everything that happened. You're going to get fragments, and you're going to get the and she came out, and scary woman, she came out of the tree, and and then we had pizza. I mean, listen, you're talking to a 6-year-old. 6-year-old tells you things that 6-year-olds should not ever know. Even if they saw it on a TV screen, they're not going to be able to tell you with the way that they felt and everything else. That kid went through something, and to put them through a court system, we have 12,000 cases. None of them were prosecuted. So what does that tell you? Back in the 70s, what was going on in the court systems, what's going on now, So think about that.
It was an orchestrated cover-up to protect the higher people in charge that were actually partaking in this. And again, that's put my tinfoil hat on, but I've seen and heard too much where it did turn out to be true to not believe.
Well, I'll tell you something. Along the lines of about 7 years ago, I started feeling a change in my tinfoil hat, and it started to move around on my head, and it started to take shape, and all of a sudden these little gems started popping out, and that bitch turned into a tinfoil crown because conspiracy theories turned into conspiracy fact. So I implore you to go back and look at some of this stuff, at what they were putting out, and was it a conditioning?
And Disney's
was
another
it a slow
one?
boiling of the
I've
frog?
heard stories about how Disney films, and then also stuff like The Wizard of Oz, was used in these mind control programs, to where there were certain keys and triggers taken from those films that where they used, like for the Monarch programming or the MK Ultra and all that stuff. And they've admitted that MK Ultra did exist, but they stopped it in the 50s or
They
whatever.
just changed the name.
No,
They just
they
changed
changed the name. It continued on, and I'd say it still
That's all
continues
they
on
do.
to this day. You look at some of these celebrities that have breaks with reality, that have there's like you can see a change in them. Like, you ever seen that interview with Britney Spears, where when Diane Sawyer says something, Britney just seems to change, and then she appears to be talking to something.
I've seen one of their eyes like go crazy off to the side. I've seen them freeze up. I've seen it's weird
and change and stuff.
They just get locked up, man.
There's something to all this.
Yeah. So, again, I harken back to Miss Tammy Wynette and Mr. George Jones and all the stuff that they went through and the stuff that she used to put on, like right behind this, the curtain. She was going through all this stuff. The curtain opened up. She handled it, and goes back, and the stuff that she put up with and the stuff that she did. And only thing that she trusted the wrong people, just like Caesar and so many other people, Lincoln, and, we could go on name and name and name. But that's what seems to happen. It draws these people in this entourage, and then they're all screwed. Everybody's stabbing somebody in the back. And this woman was, even through her drug addiction, because she had pain and so many surgeries, and they kept screwing them up. And I don't know what was going on medically with her, but man, it was a tragedy. And she got addicted to painkillers. They're little caterpillar, fuzzy, but they get on you and they bite. They kill the pain. So she was addicted to all this, and she's writing down in her clear moments. She had like 3 or 4 daughters. She's writing down everything she wanted to leave them, and she's thinking, I've gone through all this hell, but at least I get to my daughters are going to be set. And the son of a bitch manager married her when she was under the influence of all this stuff, took the legal pads, threw them out, took everything from her and her daughters. So again, when you see these people up there, these stars that twinkle and glitter, and now they don't even have talent. At least back in the day, there was so much talent. I see more talent on YouTube with a little kid with a guitar singing to his dog than I've seen in all the top 100 the past 10 years. You'll see actors that are starting to pull away from the mainstream and doing a lot of independence, and you'll see real acting and new stories. You'll see coming out of what's coming out of, out of California and Hollywood and all these other places that are established stuff are remakes. Sometimes the third and fifth and sixth
time. They want to remake stuff, and then the comic book movies, they can't make enough of those. And again, it's because that's a canon that already exists. The story's already there. It has been, some of those comic books have been around since the 40s and the 50s. Those
and
stories,
they're just redoing shit. Other people's creativity.
It doesn't take any thought to make a comic book movie. It's all special effects.
At that.
Computer generated stuff. I couldn't tell you the last time I've seen a movie like a horror film that had actual real practical effects. Somebody squirting fake blood or hacking off a fake limb. It's all computer generated. It's all done green screen.
That's true. But it's the main point of that is the fact that they can't. It's like the new creativity. They can't. It's either so narrative based and something they're trying to push that's so obvious it just makes you sick to your stomach. You can't even get through it. Or it's so ridiculous. It's just an insult to your mind and your common sense. Or it's a remake that's been done so many times. And the reason is this, because let me say it this way. When you disconnect yourself from your source and your divine, you lose your light, you lose your creativity, you lose the ability to wish to create, to imagine and foresee that imagining into a physical. So painting and things like this, they can only do like crazy stuff like this jerk running around blowing paint with a straw, or Pollock sitting there throwing stuff. He was part of it. That was a setup. I'm telling you, Pollock was.
There's some things about it. I used to think the same thing about Pollock. One of my degrees in art history. I used to think he was an absolute hack until one day I saw it. It's like one of those British, the Pathé or whatever, the black and white newsreel type films. And it showed Pollock in his creative process. And what you see down here was just the canvas. That's what was left over. But he was doing stuff up in the air, Cisco. He was writing things and drawing sigils, and the paint was falling down. Well, they say art is the residue of passion. Well, down here's the art. Up here was the passion with what he was doing in the air, and it just happened to fall on the canvas that way. And I developed a new healthy respect for the man, because I used to have the argument with one of my professors that he was no artist. He just flung paint on a canvas. Anybody can do that. But it wasn't that way at all. He was writing things and drawing pictures in the air with paint. He used the old glass syringes and was writing in the air and drawing these occult symbols and stuff. There you go again.
Yep. But if you knew who he was tangled with and why they hired him to do that, it was a fight with our art wasn't holding up to the art of, let's face it, you know,
Well,
the
then you had the
UK
people
and
like the
France and
Warhol
Paris and
that
England.
came along and this parodied the whole scene.
He was
that was where the pop art came from, to take symbols out of pop culture and replicate it. I mean, he painted a Brillo box, but it was made out of a piece of wood.
Warhol,
It looked
right?
just like a Brillo box.
Yeah.
He did the silk screens of Elvis. He did the silk screens of Marilyn. He was just he was brilliant, but it wasn't really art in the truest sense.
And it's all who's promoting you too. I mean, you know, you got people with a lot of talent that'll never be promoted. I can remember doing a thing, and I can tell you from the inside, and I know a lot of musicians. I've known a lot of musicians that made it through. You know what I mean? And come up, tell about it. I went in, I wrote a song, and I played the guitar, and I went in and I got in on the top 500 or something called Nashville Star. This was before they were testing it from out of Britain. They already were working on cable shows like, which basically was America's Got Talent and The Voice and all those things came from. That's where it started in England. It was coming over here. So they picked us. Well, out of 500, I made like, I can't remember, 8. I got up to the top. A lot of people were like hiring a band or putting in a cassette, doing karaoke and stuff like that. I just got up there and did a song I wrote and played it myself. No band, nothing. And I thought I was pretty proud of that. And the best part about it was the last part, just to get it in there. I couldn't look at the audience anymore. And I closed my eyes and finished out the last part. And then I heard the applause. And when I looked, all of the singers and songwriters that I had been sitting with for all day, because it's an all day thing, stood up. It was amazing. To me, I'd already won. I was offered a contract, and I have lawyers all over the place, you know, through family and stuff. And I'm like, run this by such and such, run this one by here. They said, if you sign that, you will not be able to sing Happy Birthday in your own living room for the next 20 years. They're going to take you and make you what they want to make you. It says right here, they have the right to change your songs, change your look, change your title, change this, how you sing, you know, and that was before they had all this auto-tune and stuff, right? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. So you'll notice a lot of times in those shows came up where the winner wasn't really the winner. The winners were the 3 that got close to winning and got offered contracts and could make their own, you know, thing if they were smart. But I never signed it because I wanted to keep, you know, my stuff was my stuff, and the way I was going to be was the way I was going to be. You know, no amount of money is going to change that. So that goes for there, that goes for here, that goes for whatever. I'm just going to tell you the truth. I made it this far. I'm not going to start lying now. You know, that's an actual truth. I wanted to show you this tonight, Steve. This was Steve's idea. Steve came up with it, and I said, heck yeah, let's pull it out. But please understand that what you're seeing now is because they have that lack of source. Why do they have that lack of source? Because they turned it over for the fame. And not every single one, but remember what I said, ass, gas, or grass. And how far are you willing to? Oh, okay. Grass is good. I got that. Cash, I'll give you money. Oh, wait a minute. You want my soul? That's where I, you know, I stop it. So they're not hiding it. It's there. We know what beats it. It's the light. Please reach out to the youngins, you know, that are out there that are getting, you know, just swayed in every which way, but normal. And, you know, we gotta reach down and save the kids, because it's all about them. They are the future. And, you know, you hear that thing about, you know, we got to leave a better world for our kids. And I'm a firm believer in that, but I'm also a firm believer that we got to leave better kids for our world. Indeed. And if we let this get a hold of them, instead of nurturing them and spending time with them. And, you know, if you can't, you know, again, because if you got to work 3 jobs, I've been there. Nobody needs to come on this thing and tell me anything about being a mom. You know, I'd worked 3 jobs. I mean, when I had my kids, I cleaned houses and took them with me. I found a way to do it. Not everybody can, but I didn't take the easy road. And somebody said something the other day. it's like, I'm gonna be okay. I walk with Jesus. And I said, honey, just understand something. Jesus never took the easy road. So if you're going to walk with him, there's going to be bumps, there's going to be potholes, there's going to be hard lefts, and there's going to be hard turns, but you ain't walking alone, so you'll be okay. So I walk with you guys. I walk with the light. Keep those lights on. Darkness isn't coming. It's here. And light puts it out. So just keep burning it bright. It's going to be hard. Sometimes it gets dim. You need to dip in there and get refilled. You please do so. Reach out. I'm so sorry I wasn't here last night. But again, there's nothing I can do about it. And I always want to, come in here and make you guys feel better. So, Steve, what do you got going on? What do you want to tell these wonderful people on the way out? Great idea tonight for the show.
Yeah, the thing that kicked this off, like I said, I got a hold of those John Todd tapes. I've got like 14 sides of them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I've released, I think 7 or so. I've got the rest of them coming. And people, like I said, people my age and our age were remembering this, like, oh, yeah, I remember this. And a lot of the stuff he said, it rang true. Now, some of the stuff he said, it never happened, but who knows? Things can change. And then there's a whole generation, at least maybe 2 in there, that's never heard of any of that stuff, or the Illuminati or John Todd or anything. So they're kind of rediscovered. And I thought, let's take that and run with it. I've got a playlist over on 13 Past Midnight. You can go and listen to it. Now they're noisy. It cuts off. It was cassette tapes, and those were dubbed and redubbed, and no telling how many generations down this copy are, but you can still get the gist of it. And there's a lot of good information in there, a lot of food for thought, a lot of things that make you think. And that's what I'm going on. And then tonight, after this stream's over,
I'd love to do a show about him, Steve. Maybe some upcoming.
Yeah, we'll do
I'd love to pull that through. I'd love to do one on him and Bill
some
Cooper,
of the books that he wrote, and some of the
Mars.
Jack Chick comics that he wrote. I remember Jack Chick that did the little Christian comic books that people would stick in your trick-or-treat bag during Halloween. He wrote some of those. Did some regular comic book size stuff about the witches and the Illuminati. And then tonight, later, sometime after the stream's over here, I'm streaming Servants of Satan. It's Tales of the Witchcraft Trials from a man named Seabury. I can't remember his last name, but it first appeared in Weird Tales magazine, like back in the 20s. But it's true accounts of people that were involved, mostly in the Salem witch trials. And then there's one from Germany in there, and the stuff that these people were actually put through it. And from what I've gathered, they didn't actually kill any witches, that it was Christians that they killed. There's other people that, oh, my cow was bewitched. She did it. She's a witch. And they would get confessions out of these women by torturing them. I mean, if somebody puts you in enough pain, I would confess to being just about anything.
And, most of them didn't, which is why I herald them as, kind of,
that's,
what I mean? As heroes.
It plays in with John Todd. It plays in with this show, Service of Satan, about the witchcraft trials. It's going to be good. It's about, I think, an hour and 45 minutes long, but some really good stories over there. I think you'll dig it. And that'll be later tonight. Probably it's up there and ready to go. I'll probably, somebody trying to call me there that doesn't know that I'm on the air with you.
That's all right, sweetie. That's okay.
But, it'll be.
That sounds great, and I love what you've been doing. The other night I caught a piece of you had Ted. Ted, I heard a little bit of your story. You were talking about the rocks, the stone tape theory, and I want to go back and listen to it again.
Yeah, we had. We just decided to do
the size of this baby.
A chill and chat, and we invited members. I've opened memberships up over on 13 Past Midnight, and we've got them on Missing Persons and Mysteries now too. And Ted and Vixen Doe are a couple of people that are members of the channel. And all that is like less than a cup of coffee, like $5. And you get all these perks. You get a little star by your name. You get custom emojis. You get members only streams, members only stuff, shout outs, all this. It's, $5 and it's great. You get all these perks. And of course, YouTube takes a big chunk of that anyway. But that goes to support the channel and pay my writers and all the other things over there. But we had 2 of our members come on. It was Ted and Vixen Doe, and they came on. We just did a spooky campfire stories thing. I had a campfire graphic in the background. Looked like my beard was on fire because it was down below me. But we told some spooky stories. I read a couple things out of one of my books, and we had a good time. And I'll hear the cat there.
Can you hear him purring?
Somebody in the chat asked Ted to do a Sean Connery impression, and he nailed it spot on. He's got a great voice.
Oh my gosh!
I told him when I'm a millionaire, I'm going to hire him to just follow me around and narrate whatever I'm doing. Here's Steve at the grocery store. He's buying cat litter, something like that. I would love that.
There's Mr. Spirit. I have to go back and listen to that. I was working on some stuff, so I couldn't hear the whole thing.
It was a good show.
There's Spirit McGee. Look at you with your big paw. He does have huge paws. This is the one that when Dr. Mike looked at me, he said, he's going to be big. And I said, big? Well, how big? Because he said it with such emphasis. And his eyebrows almost went up and met his hairline. He goes, big. And I went, oh my God. I can't wait. Oh my gosh. That sounds wonderful. And I'd love to do one, story surrounding him and, some of these other guys. We're going to dig into some stuff and, there's so much out there to dig into. This was fun tonight. Again, if you want to do some reading or you want to look into Michelle Remembers is the name of the book. It's really something else. And like I said, she went under a lot of ridicule. Nobody believed her. And here we've got kids that are coming out just now and saying the same things. So, you got to use common sense. There's definitely something going on. Keep an eye on those you love. Keep an eye on your love and your light and keep it burning because we can beat this darkness, right?
Plant a harvest that's worth harvesting.
Amen to that, baby. Amen to that. So I'm going to play that lovely music on the way out. It's about 10 minutes and I'll put up your comments if you want to say anything. But I'd love you guys to see that again. If you didn't get to see some of Kevin McLeod's stuff, and the one that I really love was the Luminous Rain because it reminded me of each one of you. We are each just drops in this wonderful vast pond that we live in, and our ripples count. And if you see how they work together, and the more ripples, and then it slows down again. And I think it's just a beautiful song. I hope you guys enjoy it. Steve, I love you, baby.
Yeah,
and my love to Mulder.
Come and see me in about 40 minutes over on 13 past midnight for Servants of Satan.
There we go. Boom, boom,
it's boom. Not the witch trials. It's not as scandalous as it sounds. But I didn't come up with the title. That was Seabury, whatever his name was.
Counteract it with love, honey. When you're in the high vibration, nothing like that can be around it, And if you notice it, I've seen people stand in the light as one, and they usually need a large group to get their power from each other. So, just be that light, that light in the darkness. That don't be a candle in the wind, but be a light in the darkness. Don't let any blow your light out. And if they do, you light it right back again, or whatever. Get an assist from somebody else, okay? Because we made it this far. We can continue to make it. I love each and every one of you.
Those birthday candles that you can't blow out, those trick candles.
There you go. Yes, he is very talented. So there's some music coming up. We featured him tonight, Amy. You came in a little late. You might have missed it. I'm going to play it again for everybody. Plus, it has nice vibrations, and it's a good vibe. Even the space one, even the darkness is coming. It's kind of fun because I put the stuff in there to make you laugh. Mm-hmm. So there you go. Enjoy. Good night, my friend. Talk to you within the week. And
see you next week with some other fun. And hopefully we didn't mention anybody that's going to pass away this week.
That wasn't already dead, or
everybody we talked about's already gone except Yoko and Nickelback, and that doesn't seem to have any effect on them.
Love you, Susan. Susan's here. Yep. There you go. Yep. So we're going to listen to a little bit. All right. I love you guys. Here we go. And we'll play us out. Good night, my friend. Keep your feet under the covers. Keep your closet door shut.
Tiger Lily, if you're still listening, good night, baby. I love you.
We love you all. I'm going to put your comments up throughout the music. Okay, guys? Enjoy. Good night, my friend. Be well.